Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today and welcome to this info session on the Enterprise Europe Network call. My name is Gunnar Matheson. I'm Program Coordination Manager in the EU's European Innovation Council and SMEs Executive Agency, also known as ESMEA. It's my job today, a job I'll do with great pleasure, to guide you through this event. But before we get going, I would like to ask my colleague Elfriede Bouter to join us here for a few technical details. Elfriede, please join me.
Thank you, Gunnar. So yes, I'm Elfriede of the agency ESMEA, and I will shortly explain you now the technicalities of the questions and answers for this info day. Since the opening of the call, you have been able to submit questions on the funding and tenders portal, of which the hyperlink is shown on the current slides. On this portal, you will find a questions and answers repository of all the questions we answered the past weeks regarding this call. We will continue to answer your questions in writing there until a few days before the submission deadline. Now, for new questions you have throughout the info session today, we invite you all to join us for the questions and answers on the homepage slido.com by entering the event code EN InfoDay 2024 after the hashtag, as shown currently also on the screen. Or alternatively, scan the QR code, which you see for the moment on the screen. You can find these details also at the bottom of all the upcoming slides of this presentation shown on the screen. So you will be able to join the Q&A on Slido throughout the whole info session. Now, once you enter a Slido Q&A, you will see different rooms numbered 1 to 4 corresponding to the agenda of this info session. Room 1, objectives of the call. Room 2, what is and does EN? 3, financial provisions. And room 4, about to call, how to apply. On a computer, you can switch to a different room by clicking on the upper right corner. And if you join on your mobile phone, you will see the room at the top. We kindly ask you to submit your questions according to this structure of these 4 rooms, so our moderator and speakers can go through your questions in a structured way later on. You can submit questions at any time throughout this info session. Answers will be provided in the last 45 minutes at the end of the afternoon. Please feel free to upvote and like questions raised by other participants on which you would also like to receive an answer. This will increase the chance of us seeing the question and answering it today at the end of this info session. Questions which cannot be answered directly today will be taken up in the Q&A repository of the Funding and Tenders portal shortly. Thank you for your attention, and I pass the floor back to Gunnar.
Thank you very much, Elfriede. So let's get on with it. Let's have a look at the agenda. What are we going to talk about today? First of all, we're going to get a few introductory words, and following that, the next 2 chapters are about the Enterprise Europe Network itself. We'll be talking about the objectives of the network and of the call, of course, and we'll run you through the 5 activity types of the Enterprise Europe Network. After that, we'll move on to something a little bit more technical. Those will be the financial provisions. We'll explain how a budget for an Enterprise Europe Network project is expected to be structured. And finally, we have some additional technical information about how to apply, about who should apply, as well as some tips for potential applicants. To conclude the session, as Elfriede has just said, we'll have a long space dedicated to questions and answers. In order to bring you all that information, I'm joined here today by 7 distinguished speakers who will do their best to make this as clear as we possibly can for you. And these people are Mariela Masselink from DG Grow, Natalia Martinez Paramo from the ESMEA, Alberto Valenzano, also from DG Grow, as well as my colleagues Erwan Le Guen, Mattia Simone Sorrentino, Alan Schonians, and Mariangela Bartolomeo. So, our first speaker today is Mariela Masselink. Mariela, you are head of unit in DG Grow for Industrial Forum Alliances and Clusters. And I would kindly like to ask you to give us your introductory words.
Many thanks, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's info session on the Enterprise Europe network call for proposals. It is actually our second call for proposals under this multi-annual financial framework under the single market pillar. Very briefly about myself, for those of you who don't know me yet, I'm Mariella Masselink. I'm head of unit in DG Grow for industrial forum alliances and clusters, so I would say business networks more in general. And in particular, our unit is also responsible for support schemes for SMEs and most notably the Enterprise Europe Network. Now, in my introductory words today, I'm going to tell you briefly what is the context of this call and also how we see the role of the Enterprise Europe Network. Now, on the context of the call, as you know, the EU has embarked really on a major transformation towards a greener, more digital and more resilient economy. And I think that the crisis that we have experienced over the past years, the COVID crisis, the war of aggression against Ukraine, the various fallouts, including high energy prices and inflation, but also other geopolitical tensions around the globe, have really reinforced us in the ambition to have even to accelerate, I would say, our transition along this direction. And of course, the 24 million SMEs that we have in the EU, they are at the heart of this transformation. They are bringing this forward on the ground. And it's in particular innovative SMEs, export-oriented SMEs that are so particularly important asset to strengthen our competitiveness. At the same time, we are of course aware that SMEs face a lot of challenges at the current juncture. I've already mentioned the various crises that we have lived through. SMEs are also daunted by the costs that come along with the transition process. They're experiencing barriers, for example, for cross-border business, and also access to finance issues, which are so important for scale-up. Now, the Commission is, of course, determined to address these issues. We have last year, for example, brought forward the SME relief package. But another key pillar in the support for SMEs is indeed the Enterprise Europe Network. And that is what I'm going to talk to you about today. Now, the purpose of the Enterprise Europe Network is to help European SMEs to innovate, to grow and to scale up in the single market and beyond. One could say that for us, we see the Enterprise Europe Network as the European arm, so to say, that complements regional and national business support systems. The EEN helps SMEs to partner and it provides advisory services for four, I would say, key areas, so to say. On the one hand, it helps to navigate through the rules and processes in the single market. It supports SMEs in their efforts to internationalize and to find business partners abroad. It supports innovation efforts of SMEs. And last but not least, also it supports with access to funding, notably EU-funded programs. Now, all these areas are, of course, closely interlinked with our industrial policy objective. They are what is needed to bring forward the green, digital, and resilient transition on the ground and strengthen our competitiveness. I should also mention in that network that it is our core objective to also strengthen synergies and exploit synergies with other networks on the ground, so with local and regional business support networks. Last but not least, the EN also provides extremely important feedback to us. The feedback, so to say, what they hear from their SME clients on the ground, for example, on supply chain disruptions, the feedback on policy initiatives of the Commission, legislative proceedings and other, and also that is extremely valuable. So in conclusion, the Enterprise Europe Network, as you know, is co-financed by the European Commission through multi-annual grants. These multi-annual grants go to consortia that are composed of different business support organizations. And the call for proposals that we're going to discuss with you today will run from the period 1st of July 2025 until the end of 2028 with a budget of 182.5 million. We want to, of course, with this call, build on the excellent work that we have already achieved with the Enterprise Europe Network, on the structures that we have established over the years. But at the same time, we want to make a continuous effort to, on the one hand, strengthen the quality of the network, We need to continue raising the visibility of the EN. As said before, we also want to strengthen synergies with other support networks for SMEs. And we need to keep a certain agility and flexibility to respond to changing economic circumstances and crises. Now, with these introductory words, I want to wish you a very successful Info Day, and I want to encourage you to take the opportunity and become our partner in the Enterprise Europe Network. Many thanks.
Thank you very much indeed, Mariella. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our first speaker has spoken. As you have read in the call document, no doubt, responsibility for EN is shared between DG Grow, who's in charge of the policy direction, political leadership for EN, and ESMEA, who is in charge of the operational implementation and contractual management of the network. I'm therefore pleased to welcome Natalia Martinez-Paramo, Head of Unit in ESMEA for the SME pillar, internal market, and support to standardization. And she will also give us some introductory words. Natalia, over to you.
Thank you, Gunnar. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really delighted to welcome you together with my colleague Mariella to this info session on the Enterprise Europe Network call for the years 25-28. Even if Gunnar has already introduced myself, let me present it. So, Natalia Martinez-Paramo, Head of Unit for the Single Market Program with two pillars, the SME pillar and also internal market and support to standardization at the European Innovation Council and Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise Executive Agency, most known by ESMEA. And as Gunnar said, our agency is the granting authority for this call and is therefore in charge of running the publication and evaluation of the call, as well as the subsequent signature and management of the grant agreements. Mariella has already outlined the political context and the most important priorities of the Enterprise Europe Network. So I would like to take this occasion to give you some background about the network's journey so far. As many of you know, Enterprise Europe Network is not a new initiative. It has existed since 2008 and has played a crucial role in facilitating the access of European SMEs to the single market and third country markets, and in providing growth-oriented, integrated business and innovation support services to help them compete. Since then, over 3 million SMEs have benefited from the network support, helping them increase their knowledge, improve their market, positioning, innovate, internationalize, and create jobs. And this means that every single day, over 800 companies receive services of the network. Every day, the network supports, on average, 112 enterprises with in-depth tailored service, advisory services, and 525 enterprises with specialized guidance and training sessions. As a result, the network is now the largest support network in the world for SMEs with international ambitions, active in over 50 countries worldwide. And in spite of its size, the network remains agile. Over the years, its priorities have evolved to reflect the latest economy, political, and societal challenges. Consequently, sustainability, resilience, and digitalisation have joined competitiveness as key focus areas for the network and its clients. Enterprise Europe Network has thus emerged as a central support structure for ambitious SMEs looking to innovate and grow within the single market and beyond. Its information, advisory, and partner services are tailored to the individual needs of each client SME, while staying true to the network main principles. The network provides excellent quality support services to SME. In fact, over 92% of them declare to be satisfied with the quality of the network. Its services are free of charge for its client SMEs across the EU and in countries associated to the Single Market Programme. Enterprise Europe Network provides services with a European dimension, providing EU added value to SMEs, but remain embedded in a link to the existing local, regional, and national SME support ecosystem. And using the network's very own hub and spoke model, local client SMEs have access to the full strength of a network consisting of 1,000 of individual experts. And we have every intention of continuing this success story. Therefore, the European Commission continue to co-finance the network under the Single Market Programme, as Mariela said, with a budget of 182.5 million over the 3.5 years. With the current call for proposal, we are looking for applicants to be part of the renewed network, July 25, let me remind you, to the end of 28, so that it confirms its place as the largest support network in the world, providing excellent services to SMEs. Enterprise Europe Network will continue playing a crucial role in helping European SMEs in their transition to more sustainable business models, contributing to a greener, climate-friendly, and strong European economy, and it will facilitate SMEs' digitalisation and resilience. Today's info session is designated to give you essential information on how to develop a good proposal. As Kit Ferrazzi, an American entrepreneur and global thought leader in the relation and collective science state, power today comes from sharing information, not without holding it. So we will first have an overview of the network activities and its way of working before explain the financial provision of the call and some aspects of how to apply. And as it was already said, we finish with questions and answers where we'll attempt to answer as many of questions as possible. We look forward to this second phase of our network within the Single Market Programme, always building on its strength and experience, but remaining forward-looking and with a new perspective in mind. So thank you very much and good luck to all of you applicants.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the context of the call and of your proposal. It is important that you reflect that. So I thank Natalia and Mariela for their insights, for their introductions, and we'll move straight on to the next item on our agenda, which is another kind of introduction, but we're going to go into much more detail now. This is about the general objectives of the Enterprise Europe Network call, and my colleague Alberto Valenzano from DG Grow is here to tell you all about it. We'll just put the slides back on so that you can see some support. Alberto, all yours.
Thank you, Gunnar. So I will start today by explaining to you what are the objectives of the call. So we already said that what we expect are applications from consortia of business support organizations that are going to ensure the continuous functioning of the network, of the Enterprise Europe Network. To do that, we expect in the applications that these consortia will reflect and define what is their strategic approach. And by strategic approach, we mean how they plan to fulfill the objectives of the call and the requirements that we lay down in it. But they need to do so by taking into account what are the specific needs that SMEs encounter in the regions or in the region that the consortia, the applicants are planning to cover. And they will also need to consider not only what SMEs needs, but also how the business support ecosystem of the region or regions the applicants want to cover is structured, and how the applicants will interact with the business support ecosystem in order to deliver on the objectives of this call. And then obviously, after defining the strategic approach, they will need to specify what are the activities that the practical activities that they plan to implement in their region or regions to translate that strategy into practical support to companies. So this is in general what we expect from the applicants. Now, what I want to define exactly what are the SMEs, what are the small and medium enterprises that we expect the future Enterprise Europe Network to serve. The purpose of the Enterprise Europe Network is to help European SMEs innovate, grow, and scale in the single market and beyond. What does it mean in practice? So it means that the target group of the Enterprise Europe Network are, first of all, European SMEs, which means that are SMEs that need to be based in the region or regions served by the network. They need to be ready to scale their activities in the single market and in third countries. So it means that these companies will need to be ready to internationalize, basically. And then they need to be also SMEs and or SMEs who are who have the willingness, the ambition, and also the potential to innovate further, which means to improve and take a leading market position by innovating their product, their services, or their processes. So they need to be this specific type of SMEs. And any SME is entitled to turn to the network, to the Enterprise Europe Network for assistance, regardless of their size, regardless of the sector where they are active in, and regardless or in which step of their business cycles they find themselves. So regardless of their, let's say, readiness level. Obviously, I just want to point out here that single SMEs are clients of the Enterprise Europe Network, but also other types of organizations may also receive network support if the services that they provide to these organizations are then directly beneficial to the SMEs that fall within the scope of these organizations. So just to make it in practical terms, just an example, a cluster of companies could be a client also of the network, because at the end, the services offered to the cluster of companies would then benefit the single SMEs that compose it. Now, I think the target group is clear by now, so I will pass on by describing exactly what is the structure and the composition of the network, so you better understand what we mean when we talk about Enterprise Europe Network partners or members. The DN at the end, in practical terms, is composed of units, teams, departments that work within individual business support organizations. And these business support organizations that compose the network, we refer to them usually as network partners. You will see it also in the call that we refer to them with this specific term, network partners. And within these network partners, within the organizations, there are people that are dedicated to work for the network and then to implement the activities that the applicants have described in their description of the action. And obviously, the people that work for the network and that are hosted by these business support organizations are obviously also connected very much with the business support ecosystem that is around them. And this goes back to what I said at the beginning, which is one of the things we expect in your applications. What are the core competencies that we require to the people who work for the network and to the organizations that compose the network? So in terms of core expertise, what we expect from a network consortium, so from the consortium of business support organization that cover one region or multiple regions, we expect this consortium to be able to offer and to demonstrate that they can offer support for SMEs in areas that include facilitating SMEs internationalization, so supporting companies in internationalizing to third markets, which could be within the single market or outside of the single market. They need to show us that they can help companies internationalize in the single market, which means that they need to be able to advise companies on how to fulfill the regulatory requirements, for example, that are needed in order to internationalize in another country in the single market. They need to be able to show us that they can support companies with innovation, which means that they have to provide innovation capacity building services, innovation management support services. They have to show us that they have the knowledge, enough knowledge and enough capacity to support companies in finding the right funding opportunities for them, be it at national or European level, and that they have familiarity also with the different EU funding opportunities. Additionally, we expect the network consortia to show that they have the ability to cover the needs of SMEs in terms of sustainability, so helping companies transform their business model to make it more environmentally, socially, or economically sustainable, to so taking advantage, for example, of opportunities offered by the circular economy, helping companies become more energy efficient or resource efficient. Then they need to provide support on digitalization, meaning that they have to help companies integrate digital technologies into their processes to make the companies more efficient. And then they have to be able to support the companies and help them predict and prepare in case of future disruptions in their value chain. So help them prepare for future scenarios where there might be issues in the economy, and their company need to be ready to face those issues. And then finally, as part of the overall service, also helping companies find the right skills that they need in order to achieve this transformation. So achieve all the objectives that I have just described. So this is in general what we expect from the network consortia. So all the network consortia should have people that are able to offer these services. But then you will find in the call that there are more specific requirements that we prescribe to the staff that works for the network. So the single people that work in each consortium. And you will see in the code that we define what are the requirements for a general profile of a network advisor, so the person that helps the companies and works with them. And then you will see that we have also defined more specific requirements that we ask to people who are in charge of communication for the network, and also people who are going to be in charge of coordinating the consortium with support organizations in the different regions. So this is what I wanted to say on the competencies. And now, what are in practice the services that we expect consortia and network and the enterprise Europe network staff to offer to the companies? So first of all, I would like to divide the services at the end between what we define as first level services and second level services. With first level services, we mean services that are generally basic in nature, so that are generally standardized. They are generally offered in a one-to-many format, so one advisor to many companies. And these are services that usually give a very direct and straightforward answer to a very basic, simple need of the company. So they're usually delivered, for example, through simple sharing of information, through redirecting the clients to the relevant websites, to offering the clients to contact a relevant stakeholder, or, for example, through information awareness raising event. Then you have the second level services. These are much more complex services. So these services are there to support clients, one single client, one single company with their specific needs. And these services are usually one-to-one by default. And these are services that usually are offered in two formats. They're either advisory services or they're partnering services. Advisory services is when an advisor talks with a company and offers help with a specific needs, and they help them by giving them by sharing with them information, guiding them through processes and so on. And these services are usually linked to the thematic areas in which the network is active, which are the ones I mentioned below, and that you will also hear more about later. The partnering services instead are those services where the advisors help the companies find a partner. So they match the company with a partner, which can help the company on some specific collaborative needs. And these are, for example, the advisor would help the company, for example, find a business or commercial partner. They could help the company find an innovation partner, meaning a company that could provide, for example, technology or specific knowledge transfer to the client. Or they could be partners that help the company on R&D projects that are by nature collaborative in order to receive funding. So, for example, practical example, an Horizon Europe application for funding. Last but not least, I want to explain how these services are provided. So all the services that I just described can be offered by an advisor to a client, and all the services that are offered to a specific client fall within what we call the client journey. So it's it's the complete experience that a client goes through when they interact with the network, with the Enterprise Europe network. So it basically consists of the needs assessments, of the action plans that the advisor prepares with the company, of all the services and the achievements that the advisor reaches with the client. And this client journey is offered in what we call a hub and spoke model, which means that basically different entities within the network, which are individually responsible and accountable for their activities, can collaborate together to offer a complete set of services to a client. It means that basically you would have one network advisor or one network partner that acts as lead and that follows the client. And that network partner, that network advisor, needs the help of other network advisors and other network partners within the Enterprise Europe network to complete the set of services that the client needs. And all the and these are called spoke. And so all the services that are offered by the hub, so the leading network partner, or the spoke, so the other supporting network partners, they all within form the client journey. So this is a little bit the logic of how we plan network services in the Enterprise Europe network. I think with this, I will conclude for now, and I will give the floor back to Gunnar.
Very much indeed, Alberto, for these insights. It is much more important than we often realize to have a good background and to understand the overall settings and objectives of such large action as of EN, where it's relatively easy to get lost in detail. So dear applicants, please take into good account what Alberto has just said. Now, we're going to have a little change of speakers right now. So I'm going to be joined by some more colleagues here who include, among others, the people who are moving just now. Alberto stays, Mariangela Bartolomeo joins us, Alan Schonjans joins us, and Mattia Sorrentino joins us. And this is in order to give us a little bit more detail on some of the activities of EN. I'm also joined by my colleague Erwan, who is standing next to me here. And we will spend the next 40 minutes or so talking about details. And as they say, the devil is in the details. So let us talk a little bit about the ins and outs of EN services. Of course, we have limited time available here, so please take into account that we will only give you a kind of teaser. After that, you will need to go and have a closer look at the call document, which has a lot of precise detail. So what is EN? What does it do? Alberto has just said it, information, advisory, and partnering services, but all of these are pretty much divided in 4 headline priorities, if you like. Everything EN does is about participation in the single market of SMEs, of course. It's about internationalization within and beyond the single market. It's about innovation, and it's about participation in EU-funded programs. And in order to be able to deliver services in such vast and complex set of areas, we think that organizations that are part of Enterprise Europe network require those capacities, those organizational capacities that Alberto has just mentioned, ranging from background knowledge about facilitation of internationalization of SMEs to support on the single market, to innovation support, but also an idea of what it means to provide support on access to finance, on what it means to provide sustainability support, digitalization support, resilience support, and of course, all of that encompassing in many ways the whole idea of upskilling and reskilling support, which is also extremely important for SMEs in today's somewhat volatile economic environment. All of these activities will be organized in 4 distinct work packages for EN. And those it's 5 work packages actually. Those 5 work packages are compulsory. They're compulsory types of activities. We don't want to see anything else in the proposals, and we don't want to see any change in those work packages either. Activity 1, work package 1, is of course the one that carries most weight. It's the one that accounts for and has to account for at least 65% of your overall FTE, so your overall human resources you put into the project. And that is all about the provision of value-added services to clients. The second work package is about promotion and visibility. So this is about communicating the network. There we expect you to set aside between 15 and 17% of your FTE, and we would expect you to set aside about half of that, up to 8%, on activity 3, which is network development and capacity building. Then comes activity 4, which is a little bit more tricky. We'll get into that in a short while. This is about network coordination and quality management. Here we expect a lump sum, first of all. We expect around 10% of your budget, of your personnel cost to go into that. And finally, of course, we have the always present activity and work package of project management, which includes consortium management, I can not stress enough, and that will be up to 5% of your FTE. So, ladies and gentlemen, Erwan and I will now spend a little bit of time ping-ponging you through the different value-added services that we have. Alberto has already said that we have first level and second level services, and that the second level services are all about advisory services and partnering services. Maybe I can say a word about the purpose of all of that. The purpose of information services is obviously that companies get a first orientation of the things they need to know, and that way we as network can help them orient their activities towards whatever is most interesting for them. These services are usually short things, they're one-off services, so what we will expect to spend most time on are the second level advisory and partnering services, which are usually long-term and which are always customized. And they're designed to put the client SMEs into a position to increase their growth in a sustainable way, to increase their competitiveness, to increase their resilience, and so on. So this is not just provision of information, this is actual advisory services, actual capacity building for companies. And when we're talking about partnering services, well, we're very much talking about similar objectives, sustainable growth generation, but here we use a different methodology. We use business partnering for international business collaboration. We use technology partnering, technology collaboration, and we use collaboration for research purposes to take part in EU-funded research programs. Now, Erwan, would you like to tell us a little bit about partnering services?
Hi, everyone. So yes, I mean, partnering services, as you said, like focus on business and commercial collaboration, on innovation and technology transfer, and on bringing SMEs to EU research and innovation programs and other funding programs. So what really we cannot stress enough is that those services are customized. The client is at the center, and the services need to be customized to the client's needs. We don't want generic services. We want the client to be helped for exactly what they need. And they're always about generating impact. So these services result in what we call advisory achievements and partnering achievements. Every time you have the successful conclusion to a service, you record an achievement that says this is the impact we're going to achieve. We're achieving for this client. And no impact, no achievement. Achievement is therefore, like, since impact is one of the main objectives in the network, achievement is one of the key objectives of our activities. So the provision of value-added services to client in this first work package is obviously like the key, and it will start with information services, and have also partnering and advisory services, all of those free of charge, in 9 areas over which we're going to go quickly with Gunnar. So Gunnar, the first one of those is single market.
It is indeed the single market, and that is obviously all about helping SMEs access other countries in the single market and navigate EU legislation, navigate EU rules and formalities, and of course also address single market obstacles. Now, of course, we don't only look at the single market, we also look a bit further beyond that.
Yes, and the second one is internationalization to third countries. So there we help to inform companies about the specificity of getting into third market and provide them with business opportunities in those third countries, also with the help of international network partners who cover some of those third countries. So this is obviously very important for companies. Next one is innovation.
Innovation is the second half of the network's activities, if you like. This is all about enhancing the potential of SMEs to better manage innovation processes inside their company, to innovate and to develop new products, new services, and new business models. The idea always being that that is at the core of competitiveness and at the core of having a vibrant economy. But of course, innovation has a purpose.
Yes, and these days our services should, in any case, contribute to companies developing more sustainable business models. So sustainability advice, how to develop better, more sustainable business model is really an important, very important service that we provide to companies as well. The same goes for digitalization services.
Again, as with innovation, as with sustainability, this is about managing changes in your business model. And here EN is designed to help SMEs tailor digital solutions to their business needs. And in that way, also increase their resilience. Erwan.
Absolutely. All those services, in a way, contribute to the resilience of SMEs. One way in which we contribute to the resilience of SMEs, for example, is helping SMEs diversify their supply chain. We've seen recently how important this was. It's just one aspect, but it's a telling one. Of course,
few things work without the right cash in hand. So EN obviously also provides support to companies for accessing the right type of EU funding, the right type of financial instruments, and the right type of other financial support in order to be able to carry out those transitions, those innovation activities, and those market access projects. But we also have a special target audience for at least some of our access to finance advice.
Yes, a type of SMEs that obviously requires a lot of support and has a lot of challenges to face are startups who start to scale up beyond their initial market. And for this, we can use the network's resources to provide those scale-ups with the right support in all the countries that they need to target at the same time. This is a really important part of our activities.
And then finally, in a way, because this is the last item in work package 1, we have SME feedback activities. If there is one thing that all the companies we have just encompassed in the different types of activities have in common, it's that they make experiences in the single market and that they have a view on what works and what doesn't work and what helps them and what could be improved in the way the EU economy works. And we like to use the Enterprise Europe Network as a channel to feed back to the lawmakers, to the policymakers in Brussels, what they think about the functioning of the single market, about any specific market obstacles that they might have come across, or indeed about general legislative ideas or opinions they have. We do that through specific panels and questionnaires. It's quite an organized process, and we rely very much on the Enterprise Europe Network to provide us with details on that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is essentially what we have to say about work package 1 right now. Thank you, Erwan, for the ping pong. If you would like to take a seat over there, that would be great. We will now move on to work package 2, which is all about telling everybody what Enterprise Europe Network does. It's about communication and promotion of the network, and I'm delighted to welcome my colleague Mattia Sorrentino for this. He's going to give you a short overview, I'd say about 7-8 minutes or so, on what the network does to talk about itself. Mattia, over to you.
Thank you very much, Gunnar, and good afternoon, everyone. So indeed, we are now coming to the part of the call dedicated to the promotion of the network and communication. So first of all, partners need to ensure that the network is highly visible to companies with innovation and internationalization potential, and of course also to regional stakeholders and within, of course, applicants, host organizations. In order to do so, they need to conduct communication activities aiming to fulfill 4 key communication objectives, which are the ones you see now on screen. So increasing the awareness of the network, enhancing its visibility and the visibility of its brand, and of course also promoting the achievements of the network and its success stories. Now, one important document that you will need to include as part of your proposals is the communication strategy, which is a contractual requirement, and it covers the entire framework period of action. Now, we have provided you with a template for a communication strategy in order to help you structure the content and also avoid missing any information. However, the communication strategy needs to be included into your proposals in section 3.2 and not attached as a separate annex or a separate document. So it needs to be within your proposals. And yeah, you can basically use it to structure the content, and then you can copy paste it into the proposal. And also it has been brought to my attention that there was a little mistake in the template, because in the strategy template there was the mention to work plan, so please disregard this little typo. Now, the communication strategy gives the main direction, the strategic guidance for communication activities, and provides information about key aspects like communication objectives, key messages, who are you trying to talk to, who are you trying to reach, and how you plan on doing so. So which tools and which channels you plan on using in order to achieve this goal. And of course, also gives information about your KPIs, what are the roles of the different partners in achieving the communication goals, and of course, also how you plan on coordinating national, regional, and local communication activities. Now, another important communication document is going to be the communication work plan. However, this is not required as part of the application, but is a future contractual requirement because indeed it needs to be submitted as deliverable during the project. And in a way, the communication work plan implements the communication strategy and provides very specific and detailed information about concrete and pragmatic communication actions that you plan on carrying out in a very specific time frame, which is 1 year. And so also as of year 2, you will need to provide also a short summary evaluating the communication activities that you've carried out in the previous year. Now, in the call, there are also some sections dedicated to digital presence, so website, social media, and branding. When it comes to websites, partners are obliged to maintain a common consortium website. Now, there will be some countries with more than one consortium, and in these, there needs to be also a national network website. Why? In order to offer the user with a central access window to the services of the network before redirecting them to their closest consortium. When it comes, of course, in countries with only one consortium, one website with national reach is enough. When it comes to social media, partners need to ensure an active social media presence. And on top of that, they are required to carry out at least one promotional campaign on social media every year. You will also discover that the Enterprise Europe Network has a very specific visual identity and brand image. And this is why successful applicants will be required to follow these guidelines in full and apply them correctly using our logos, our curves, all our elements that we will provide you. Then some very important people in the network will become the communication correspondents. These are the first contact points for ESMEA and the European Commission when it comes to outreach and communication activities. Because of that, they need to have communication expertise of at least 2 years in at least one of the areas that are specified in the call. And we need to have one per consortium. Now, there will be some countries with more than one consortium, of course, and in these countries, out of the different consortium communication correspondents, one needs to be nominated by the country coordinator as national communication champion in order to have one per country. Of course, in those countries with only one consortium, the communication correspondent will automatically be also the national communication champion. Then in the call, there are also some sections dedicated to communication tools. So how we plan on showcasing the impact and the value of the network, how we plan on conveying our messages. In this area, success stories play an essential role. And this is why partners are asked and obliged to submit at least one success story per year. And these, but of course, you're also encouraged to submit more when available. And these stories need to feature high quality standards in terms of content, presentation, and language. And then on top of success stories, of course, successful applicants will be required to conduct a diverse range of outreach activities, which could range from paid adverts on social media, organization of events, production of audiovisual material, and so on. Then a very important part in enhancing the visibility of the network on the ground must be played by the host organizations. This is why they need to commit clearly to giving visibility to the network, and therefore they need to place a network logo on their websites in a widely visible way, and also add an explanatory text, or even better, a dedicated section on their own websites. And they also need to place the network logo at the entrance of their premises. But most importantly, they need to publish network-related content on their host organization websites regularly, and this needs to be visibly branded. So it needs to feature the elements of our visual identity that we will provide you in order for it to pop when the user scrolls through its content on social media. And finally, we come to the internal communication section of the call, which clearly states that successful applicants need to connect regularly to the network's internal platforms, ensure participation, knowledge sharing, and of course, update their information and provide also necessary information to the other partners. And most importantly, be responsive to other colleagues and react as swiftly, as quickly as possible. And that's it from my side. Thank you very much. So I will now leave the floor back to you, Gunnar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mattia. And ladies and gentlemen, this more or less concludes what we have to say on the two big work packages that are outward facing, that are about communication and that are about providing services to clients. We have two other work packages that are equally important, but that are more designed to strengthen the network internally. And the first one here, is what we call network building and capacity. No, it's actually network development and capacity building. And Erwan is here to tell you about it.
Absolutely. So we have insisted on the fact that SMEs need tailored services that really provide real impact. And that, of course, requires from network advisors a high degree of professionalism, and of course, being updated on the latest challenges and how to help SMEs solve the latest challenges that they face. So this means that we have to keep working, and this is what this work package is about, on improving the quality and the efficiency of network services to help SMEs face those challenges and receive the quality of services that they need. So this goes over networking. This goes over. I need to speak closer to the mic. Okay. So again, we need high quality services. We need a high level of professionalism in the network, and this is what this work package is about. This goes over networking, obviously, in the consortium with other network partners to get the information, to share knowledge. This also goes through the participation in peer learning activities, the organization of trainings, the organization of, hosting them or taking part in them or attending training sessions. And an important part of the network activities and an important structural element of the network is also the participation in sector groups and thematic groups. Gunnar, what are sector groups?
What are sector groups? A very good question indeed. Sector groups are what we think of as competence centers in the network. They're places where you as network staff members can collaborate, work together, share, learn, and improve the way you work. This is all about client focus. Sector groups are there to improve the partnering and advisory services that we as Enterprise Europe Network deliver to our SMEs. And those sector groups, they exist in the 14 different industrial ecosystems that are defined by the EU's industrial strategy. Those ecosystems, you can see them here on the screen and you can see them in the call document. They are supposed to include almost everything that we have in the European Union in terms of economic ecosystems. In addition to that, however, we also have one in EN that's called Maritime Industries. This is because we have a certain interest in that. So we have that, we have digital, we have retail, we have tourism, we have energy-intensive industries, renewable energies. Have a look and see which particular area is interesting in the context of your regional economic setting. And I can promise you that being a member of the sector group will be something very, very interesting for you from both a professional point of view as well as from an efficiency point of view. So that's outward facing. We've also got a similar structure that's a bit more inward facing, right, Erwan?
Yes, absolutely. So we also have thematic groups, as we've outlined the type of services that we provide, and for these we need also to organize and make sure that we have a high standard in the network, in those services, to provide sustainability services, to provide digitalization support to SMEs, or to provide support to scale-ups. We have different thematic groups. We have also one on the single market, on research and innovation, access to finance, quality, women entrepreneurship, one about communication, as we said, communication extremely important, and one about internationalization. I'm going to go back to the idea of those thematic groups is that they aim to create common processes and methods to make sure that we offer like a high level of consistency in the services that we provide across the network, and that we exchange on best practices, that we help the network's quality of services to improve constantly. So these thematic groups don't target specific areas, they target the whole network. So basically everyone who's providing services in those areas in the network should join those thematic groups to make sure that you share your knowledge with others and you receive knowledge that help you improve the quality of your services. Of course, quality is a central part of what we do. Again, high professionalism of services, high quality of services is what will ensure impact on SMEs. So to make sure that, and quality is everything. It targets everything. It targets the quality of client services, but also the quality of your interactions with the rest of the network within your consortium, but also internationally. The idea in the network, as Alberto outlined earlier, is to work in a hub and spoke system. So whenever you need the support of someone outside, you need to be able to request it and get it, and to get the right quality of service also from that partner abroad who has better knowledge than you do to help your client. So the quality of the interactions is extremely important. And we also work with a number of external stakeholders. So the quality of the interaction with external stakeholders is obviously extremely important. So quality concerns everyone, and this is something that we want reflected in the proposal, how you're going to put that in place, how you plan to make sure that the quality of the services you provide and the quality of the interactions that you have with the rest of the network remain high throughout the activity period.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Erwan. Now, you will be back with us in a short while, I think, but this short while doesn't quite, your while now doesn't end yet. We'll still have to talk about another work package here, which is a bit more inward looking. This is network coordination and quality management. Network coordination and quality management is all about activities that contribute to the network as a whole rather than to an individual consortium. This is the stuff that you do as partners of one consortium to improve the rest of the network. The objective is to make the network better. Now, this is quite complex. It's also something that is a little bit unnatural for consortia organized in the way that we are an Enterprise Europe network with a regional focus. So we have a different approach to this particular work package. The eligible activities for this are defined in the core, and the list of activities is, as we like to refer to it, exhaustive and exclusive. In other words, that means we don't want anyone tampering with that list. In other words, eligible activities are those that you see on the screen just now, nothing else, and only these. Erwan, do you want to talk us through them?
Yes. So the first of these eligible activities in Work Package 4 is chairing sector or thematic groups. This is an important activity. Sector groups and thematic groups structure our network activities. Acting as a trainer or speaker in training activities is also something that goes into this activity. It targets the whole network. That's why we put it in there. We also have, let's say, the hosting and organization of training courses and peer learning activities. Acting as a mentor also to those who need it. It can be new partners. It can be partners who start in new services or who need like a reinforcement in some areas. Contributing to the quality of content at network level, so quality support activities, many of those managed by the quality thematic group. Participation in pilot action to test or implement new procedures where we're trying to improve the services we provide or develop new services as the need arises when the economic or innovation landscape changes. Active membership in temporary groups that launched by the agency. A task force on resilience, for example, would be an example. If we need to develop new services in that area, that would be one example. Membership in representative bodies steering bodies of the network is also included, acting as national communication champion, and then coordinating national network activities in countries where we have more than one consortium. So we want a network that works well, and for these, all these activities, all these coordination activities are included.
Thank you, Erwan. Now, you can see from that list of activities that we're not talking about doing some activities for your own consortium or for doing something for your own client SMEs, but you're really doing something for the network as a whole there. And because we recognize that that is a little bit unfair to be put onto your normal budget, which is 60% co-finance, 40% comes from your own resources, this work package is 100% co-financed by the European Commission. It's financed through a lump sum covering personnel costs as well as other direct costs. And that lump sum is intended to be 10% of the personnel cost budgeted for the other activities of the network. Sounds a little complicated, but I think once you look at it on paper, it's actually relatively simple mathematics there. A few things, however, need to be taken into account. First of all, the 10% threshold is applied and calculated at consortium level only. So that means there are no upper or lower limits for the budgets of individual partners within a consortium for activity 4 for this lump sum. One partner can have 15, 20% even of their personnel costs dedicated to work package 4, whereas another one can have 1 or 2, as long as the consortium average meets the criteria. That's all fine. In the same vein, with the same logic behind it, there is no maximum or minimum number of partners who are active in this work package. Expressed differently, this means that you can have some partners who are not at all active in this work package, as long as the others take over all the activities that are needed to make a meaningful contribution within your consortium to this quality management and network coordination. This is really important to us, as Erwan has just said. It's a really important topic because this is what makes the network special and different. And for that reason, we do insist that if a proposal allocates insufficient resources to this work package in order to make a meaningful contribution, then there's a good chance that this will be considered a weakness during the evaluation. At the same time, yes, we're keen to get quality into the network and to get quality across consortia into the network, but we have that cap of 10% at consortium level, and that is also an absolute figure. So any proposal that would go above 10% here would be capped. Now, a last complication for this work package is that it's actually extremely difficult to plan the exact type of activities that you're going to carry out, because it involves, for example, chairing sector groups, which is subject to elections. It involves being part of ad hoc working groups, which haven't been convened yet. And it involves organizing training events for activities where we might now not even know that there is a training need. So what we want to read in the proposals here is not a list of exact activities, it's a strategy. Provide us a strategy of how you want to contribute to network coordination and quality management. You can, of course, refer to individual activities, but you do not need to commit yourself to doing 3, 4, 5 particular things at a particular period of time. The exact type of activity that you will carry out can vary during implementation without any major formalities. So that, I think, is as much as I have to say on work package 4. With that, Erwan, am I right to say that we've gone through the big work packages?
Well,
Just say yes.
Yes, but we'll still have a very important one, though.
we do have an important one. That's why I said big. The next one is work package 5, project management. That's a classic. Every EU-funded project has project management activities, and every EU-funded project, EN is no exception, requires one consortium coordinator who takes overall responsibility for the project and who oversees the activities of the consortium and ensures the relationship of the consortium with the agency. That activity evidently includes reporting. It includes quality management at the level of the consortium, but it also includes, and that is rather more subtle, facilitating cooperation and coherence between different partners and ensuring that the activities that you carry out as consortium all fit into the strategy of implementation that you will have presented to us. And then, very specific to EN, We also consider that the coordinator is the first organization responsible for the implementation of the hub and spoke model that Alberto has explained earlier. So that's for the coordinator. For the partners, obviously the role is a little bit different, but we expect that every partner, coordinator included by the way, appoints one person as an EN team leader, as a person who manages EN activities, who manages the EN team, and who makes sure that the liaison with other EN partners in the consortium and beyond is carried out efficiently. Because those of you who are listening who are already in the network will know that, but for everybody else there, communication within the network, between network partner organizations, between consortia, and between individuals is extremely important. It is what makes this network function. Therefore, this is super important. But of course, we're also looking at a project where public funding is involved, where the normal procedures of project management are involved. So we're going to insist on some reporting and monitoring arrangements as well. They have to be carried out by law. We're going to make it as easy as possible for all of us involved as we possibly can, but we will obviously stick to the normal reporting and payment procedures that exist for the single market program and the projects that it funds. In our case, in the case of EN, this means that all projects have to provide a pre-financing report after 1 year, an interim report after 18 months, and a final report at the end of the action. All of these reports are linked to a payment. You will actually get 4 payments. You will get 2 pre-financing payments. The first one at the start of the action without any report. The second one comes after 1 year. This is linked to the pre-financing report. And then you will have the interim and the final payment, which are linked to the interim and final reports, unsurprisingly. But of course, in addition to that, we also have some sort of what we call continuous monitoring. We don't want to restrict our contacts with the network to the 4 formal occasions, but we will have regular interaction with the consortium coordinator to check progress towards the planned activities and progress towards the planned targets. We'll obviously take the coordinator as first interlocutor there because it is the coordinator who is in charge of monitoring the activities of all consortium partners. We will engage in very regular and very frequent contacts with you. So there's regular and frequent contacts between ESMEA and the coordinator about the state of the implementation of the project throughout the duration of the project. And this will be done by means of what we call desk monitoring. So this is essentially 2 people sitting at a desk and talking to each other about the implementation of the project. But we'll also do monitoring visits, which means that we will visit you occasionally to see how you get on. This is not an audit. This is simply a visit to understand how the implementation of your project works. Now, earlier on, I managed to say, check your progress towards your targets without having mentioned targets and KPI before. So Erwan is fortunately still here with me after I sent him away earlier, but thanks for coming back. Will you tell us everything about key performance indicators?
Absolutely. So, of course, we want to check, we have objectives, we want to reach certain impact. So we have key performance indicators. The first of those is the total number of SMEs served by the network. So this is any SMEs that you serve as part of your network activities, from information to advisory services to partnering services, and SME feedback. So for these, we have a target. So this figure should come from your own CRMs. This is all the companies that you contact or inform or serve in the framework of your network activities. The second KPI is the number of unique clients in the network client journey. These are the clients to which you offer advanced services. These must be registered into the Enterprise Europe Network's IT platform, and they have an action plan in which these advanced services are registered in our platform. So this is really the clients which will be linked to achievements. This is where the impact comes from. But obviously, KPI 1 is the entry point. All the clients that you contact, and the KPI 2 is the number of clients you offer advanced services to. So the third KPI we mentioned earlier is very important. It's what we aim for is the impact. So we have, and the impact comes through the successful conclusion of advanced services. So advisory achievements and partnering achievements are the resulting deliverable of the partnering and advisory services, as we mentioned earlier. Now, the fourth KPI doesn't require a target in the proposal, but it will be part of your reporting, which is the impact on clients in the client journey. So this impact after you provide services and after you record an achievement, well, an achievement is an expected impact in a way, and the actual impact we regularly gather from clients, asking them about how many new markets we help them get into, the turnover increases that our services help them achieve. And this is done through a survey that's provided by SMEA, an impact survey that's permanently open. Every time you meet a client for follow-up, you can ask him or her or them to report, to tell you how much impact the services that you provided them led to. So this is a very important one, because this is also how we show that the network is providing actual impact on the ground, as we say sometimes, on SMEs. The fifth KPI is on communication activities. As Mattia explained earlier, you have objectives in your communication work plans. These communication activities KPI basically reflects how well you achieve those objectives. And it's detailed in the call how this KPI is calculated. The sixth KPI is the contribution towards the network's partners' client journey. We have this KPI because we want to boost and to give value to the fact that you're helping each other, that you act in a true hub and spoke manner in the network. So whenever you help somebody else's client, you get credit for it. It's as important to us that you help other people's clients with your knowledge as to help your own clients. So this is a really important KPI. So we expect you to really report like a significant figures in that area, of course. This is important for our network to function. This is why we have a network, to get all these experts together. The seventh and last KPI is the promotion of SME feedback activities. So this counts the number of SME feedback activities that you promote, SME panels, feedback actions that the Commission is launching, and that we will relay to you. You have to promote them to your client. You have to really work. It's a significant work indeed to get SMEs to provide feedback, but it's a very, very important one, and it helps us ensure also that the services that we provide and that the legislation that is put out there in the European Union is meetings and, well, doesn't harm SMEs and supports them in developing their businesses. Apart from the KPIs, we also have quality ratios. So their name says it all. They're not indicators they're not KPIs, so you don't have to put targets for it, but they're indicators to assess and compare the efficiency and quality of services. So we try also to limit the number of ratios and KPIs in this proposal to make things simpler. You don't need to provide targets, but they will help us, and they will help you also identify, how efficient your services are and how and the quality of your services compared also to other consortia, and see where you might have room for improvement, or where you might actually have, let's say, room to, well, help others get better. The first one is the number of achievements per unique client in the network client journey. So how many clients do we provide advanced services to that reaches an achievement? This is a very important matrix. Our goal is not providing services, it's to generate impact. The second quality ratio is the number of services linked to an achievement. This goes more towards efficiency and quality. How many of those services that we provide actually lead to an achievement? So it's really important for us to know, okay, well, and it's really important for you also to see, okay, when we provide this type of service, it leads to impact, it leads to an achievement. This type of services somehow seems to be useful to clients, but cannot be linked to a specific impact. Maybe we should improve them. That's a bit the goal of this quality ratio. The third one is the number of achievements per FTE. This is a way also to help us benchmark the different consortia who have very different sizes, very, very different regions. So as the number of full-time equivalent that we invest is also very directly related to your to the size of your region and the number of SMEs that you serve, this is a really good way for us and for you to also see if you're really efficient in supporting SMEs, or if there's some room for improvement. And the last quality ratio is the number of is the average impact per client in the client journey. We have mentioned earlier that we wanted to collect impact through this impact survey that we will provide you. Well, it's really important for us to see which impact is generated, and this is really an important quality ratio, because how much impact and the level of this impact is what we can also sell to new clients who need our services, and also justify in many ways why our network needs to be funded. Not because we provide services, but because we really directly help European economy improve and SMEs strive in this, well, in the single market and beyond. Right.
Right, he says. Thank you very much, Erwan. It's time, I think, that we both leave the lectern now, because we are moving from a very general point of the description of activities of the network to a very technical one. And this technical point is all about the financial provisions of the call. The financial provisions, they're all about getting your budget tables right. And in all honesty, I know very little about it, but I've got two people here who know a lot about it. And they're Mariangela Bartolomeo and Alain Schonjans, and I'll leave you in their capable hands for the next 40 minutes or so. Alain, Mariangela, not sure who talks first, but off you go.
Thank you, Gunnar, for the floor. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mariangela Bartolomeo. So I'm from the financial unit of the agency SMEs, and I'm financial officer. That is mean translate in concrete that I will one of the person in charge of the check of your financial document. So don't be scared about that. Today I am here with my colleague Alan for give you feedback and good tips for better prepare the financial document at the moment of the submission, especially at the moment of the stage of the gap. So we start immediately with the two fundamental financial document for your submission. So as you see here, the two are the summarized budget table application form part A that you need manually filled online, and the details budget table annexed to the application form part B, so that you need to upload on the correct and allowed format. Important you need to keep in mind that both the information to introduce on bottom table, they need to match. We underline that aspect because sometimes it's possible to do confusion or to don't put the similar amount on bottom table. So please be careful when you fill and check the correspondence between the two tables, because sometimes they don't. If we found at the moment of the check of the document the no correspondence between the two tables, we are obliged to reject the financial document for correction. So no paper are allowed on this stage for the preparation and for send document. So all the submission of the document is only allowed online on the portal. So as you see here, we put the example as you download the part for the part B for the template, and as to upload again the template at the moment that is filled. So now we go in concrete. So as you will need to fill the details budget table. So as you see, is composite by 5 sheets. So one is the instruction, the second is the start, and the third is the details table. And the fourth, that is the consolidated table. For arrived after at the last sheet, that is the consolidated table for a project. So at the moment of the submission, you are not obliged to send us the instruction, because we don't need an instruction. Instruction is for you, for us better to fill the table. And you start to fill the information from the sheet 2, that is the start. On that part, you need to fill the project data and the working package for each activity. So, as I told you, that part is composite by 5 sheets, is better, and we suggest to you to use this order for fill your table, for create your table, because in this way you are sure to don't forget nothing at the moment of the preparation of the documents. You are obliged to submit this table, one for beneficiary, as a part of your, as a PDF. So one PDF for each beneficiary. We don't accept the just one PDF with the information for all the beneficiary, because for us it's a big confusion at the moment of the calculation and the verification. So for this, please keep in mind, so one PDF for one beneficiary. And at the maintain also with you the corresponding Excel table, because it's possible that at the moment of the check on the calculation, we will be asked to you to send us the Excel version via email. At the moment of the preparation of the gap, so for the financial document, we speak about estimation of cost. The table is composed by white cells. That mean that we ask to you to report and to manually fill the information, and the blue cells that are automatically calculated by the system. But I will show you in concrete what I mean. So as you see here, we put also a print screen of an example of template for the details budget table. This is for a specific detail table for personal costs. So as you see, I don't know if you are really able to see from the presentation. So the white space is for report cost that relating to the personal cost are divided for rates and time. And of course, on the white part, you will have also the possibility to explain which role the person have on the project. Important for the for report information on the details table is to report only the costs that are really incurred on the action. In case you don't have cost, please leave the box empty. You don't need to put any type of information. Please keep in mind also to double check that each cost is only reported once, because sometimes for if you don't pay attention, sometimes we also notice that we received a table with the same cost reported twice. And of course, list each cost for each working package section. And of course, not last, please keep in mind that you need on this stage of the gap preparation to prepare the best estimation of the cost. We pass now at the sheet 4 for the detailed budget table, so that are referred to the consolidated table for participant. On that case, we don't ask to you to do any type of action, because for the that table that show different heading for work package is automatically calculated by the system on the basis of the above information already reported by you. On that part, the fifth section, that is the consolidated table for per project. On that case, we have the table that show us the cost per working package and per participant. On that case, at difference of the before table that we show you, on that case, we ask to you to manually introduce information about the cost. In the specific, we ask to the coordination to collect all the information and report it on the table. Also, in that case, we ask to you to really carefully check the data and the information, financial information reported on the table, because that information, they need to match with the table and the budget on the part A. So the detailed budget table is for per beneficiary is composite by project costs that are personal costs, subcontracting costs, purchase costs, other cost category, and indirect costs that, of course, are part of the EU contribution that as we give to you on the project. The project incoming there will also part of the revenue of contribution by trade party or own resources. Now we start cost by cost to explaining you the better way to report the cost. The first one is relating the personal cost. Personal costs are divided in three sections. So the A1 is the employees. Employees is mean that on that category are allowed only the employment contract or equivalent with the beneficiary. On that contract that they will assign an action as on action specific to the project. Eligible costs under that category are only salary, social security contribution, tax, and other costs linked to the remuneration. Please keep in mind that for that category, but in general, for all the category that you report on the details budget table, you need to introduce actually incurred cost on the action. The modality for report the cost at this stage of the preparation of the table is the monthly rates for each person who will work on the action and that do something concrete on the action. Calculated also on the later stage for the periodic report on daily rates. Daily rates, it means that is calculated for annual personal costs for person, divided the 215 days at the maximum. So the intent of this info day is also to give you some suggestion, and I will give you some suggestion on that. So it's true that the general rules for the calculation of the personal cost on that stage is the monthly rates. But we will suggest to you eventually to start with the preparation of your table for personal cost on daily rates, because at the end it's something that we will ask to you on the coming reporting table. So the second session for the personal cost is relating the natural person under direct contract and the seconded person. So that category of personal cost is mean that the work are not employees, but they are freelance, for example, or expert, and are eligible only if they work under similar condition of the employees, so under the supervision and the office presence and so on. The costs are not significantly different within the person that they do the similar task, and the work results belong to the beneficiary. So the cost declared on they are referred to the remuneration plus taxation cost for that category. The second person is mean that they are trade party against on payment. The last session for personal cost is referring to the small and medium enterprise, so the SMEs owners and natural person without salary. So it's compulsory on that session to just report the SMEs owners that they don't receive salary, and also when the status of the SMEs it was declared before on the portal. Same it's for the natural person. Of course, the only obligation on that category is that that person not receiving salary for the action. The cost calculation method is the unit cost daily rates multiplied for the number of days equivalents worked on the action. The unit cost daily rates that you need to use on that category are the one reported on the commission decision or on the Annex 2A. So now, okay, I explain it to you on theory as to better feel the detailed budget table, but now it's really the moment to see in concrete. So this is a print screen of an example of the table for report the personal cost. So as you see, we put in yellow the part that you need to fill and that are important for us for the financial check. So on the category A1, A2 plus A3 and A4, you have the type of rates that as I have anticipated to you, the modality on that stage for report the cost, it's the monthly. Only for the A4 SMEs owner is already the daily, but I repeat to you, so we suggest to you to start to use the daily rates also at this stage. After, so as you see, the box is white. So as I told you, there are the boxes that you need to fill. So you have the rates and the time that you need to report. The total is in blue. What it means, no action are asked to you because the total on the basis of the information that you provide on the rates and on the time, it will be automatically calculated. Last but not least, for us is also important the fact that you need to fill the last two columns of the table that are relating the work, if that person work also on other working package, and a short description of the project role. We pass now at the subcontracting cost. Subcontracting costs, they mean purchase of goods, work, or service related to the implementation of specific tasks which are part of the action. At difference of the personal costs for subcontracting, we speak about autonomous persons that are not under the supervision of the beneficiary. They are allowed on that category only the limited subcontracted, that is mean not core task, specific task for the action, that are described on the Annex 1, that are budgeted on the Annex 2 or ex post approved. If above the 30% of the total cost, we ask to you to justify on the application the reason why it was necessary to use more percentage of subcontracting. It can be declared only as actual cost incurred on the action. Of course, best value for money and the lowest price. So fundamental is also the no conflict of interest. Here, we reported also in this case an example has to better fill the table. So important on the details budget table is report the short name of the subcontracting and the cost. So cost that on that case, I tell you again, is actual cost. So as you see, we have different modality for report personal cost subcontracting because, as I explained to you, we have a quite big difference. The only two similar part are the last two columns. Also in this case, we asked to you to declare if the subcontracting is subcontracted also in other working package and a description of the role of the subcontracting. Another table important for us is also the one reported on the application form, on the technical description, Annex 1, Part B. So as you see on the technical description, you will find this table for subcontracting. Also in this case, we ask you to report the subcontracting name, the description, including the task number, the estimated cost, because of course, on the stage, I tell you again, we speak about estimation of cost, and the justification, why we need this subcontracting, so why the subcontracting is necessary, and of course, the best value for money. So now I pass the floor to my colleague Alan for continue with the other cost category needed for the detailed budget table.
Thanks a lot, Mariangela. So my name is Alain Sconians, and I am a colleague of Mariangela working in operational financial sector C12 in EISMEA. So let's continue with the next cost category, which is the purchase cost category. This category is subdivided in three subcategories, if I may say. The travel cost, accommodation and subsistence allowance or cost, the equipment, and last but not least, the cost for other goods and services. So generally here we will talk, especially for the last cost category, the C3, we will talk about ordinary contracts for buying services or goods which are needed to carry out the action, including the purchase of consumables and supplies. So it's important here to keep in mind that the contracts do not cover the implementation of the action tasks themselves, but they are really necessary to implement the action task by the beneficiary. So in that case, in this specific case, the purchase cost will not need to be indicated in the Annex 1. Let's start with the first subcategory, which is the travel, accommodation, and subsistence cost category. So it is important to understand that those costs are only budgeted for the personnel which is working on the action. So you cannot simply inviting an expert and declare the travel cost of this expert under this category. For example, as I take the example of an expert, this cost should normally be declared under under other services cost category, but not on the travel. Those costs should be justified, of course. They should be, of course, necessary for the good running of the action. They should be planned in the description of the action. And most of the time, you should preferably keep the relevant supporting documents in order to justify them in case of a further audit, or in case we will ask you from our financial service some question about their reality, if I may say. So, for example, if you travel by plane, it's always a good idea to keep with you after that the boarding passes. And also all the relative invoices. Generally, also those costs, more than being justified, they have to be made following the usual practice of the internal beneficiary and his internal policy procedures. The most important point, it's maybe this one, is those unit costs have to, those travel costs have to be budgeted as unit cost. So this is a bit quite new in SMP calls. It means that you will have to use prefixed amounts in order to declare those costs. This is also not only valid for travel, but also for accommodation and subsistence. As I will explain a bit later, in some few cases, you will anyway be still able to declare actual incurred cost, but only if the destination, for example, of the country is not covered by the EC decision. I will also tell you other cases where which are not always covered by the Commission decision. Now that I'm telling you about the Commission decision, to be more precise, the unit costs are described in details. The values are described in details in the Commission decision from 2021, the Commission decision 35. Well, this is not so important, but this decision is the text of this decision is really the main working tool that you will have to use in order to declare this cost. It's also interesting to know that this Commission decision was amended by a decision in 2023, but only for the travels which are attached to distance, which, if I may say, above 400 kilometers, because of course we have to take into account the increase of the life cost in general. It's also good. It was maybe not said till now, but this presentation, you will receive, of course, this presentation. And in this presentation, you will see in blue, there are two links. One will go directly to the Commission decision text, and there is another one which go to another site of the Commission, and where you will be able to use a flight and rail calculator, which is very useful in order to elaborate, in order to determine the correct distance that you will have to use for your travels. So now I will try a bit to give you a bit more detail about each subcategory. So about the travel cost, about the accommodation, and about the subsistence cost. Let's start with the travel cost. For technical reason, I cannot go directly into the Commission decision, so I will try to give you a summary of it. But as I already told, you will be able to access it directly from this presentation. So let's start with the travel cost. For the travel cost, you will have to use as unit the person. This means that if only one person travels, you will declare only one unit cost. And logically, if two persons are traveling, you will declare 2 unit costs, and so on. So you shouldn't be afraid of using unit costs. They were made normally to make your life easier, and also our life easier as financial officers, in order to check what you are declaring. What is very important to remember is that we are here talking about return travels. So it means that the unit cost covers the travel for going to your destination, but also the travel for returning to your departure place. So this is important. It's really covering the whole journey. In the decision, you will find 3 main tables regarding travels. The first one is a table for travels whose distance are higher than 400 kilometers. So mainly for when you have to use the plane or the train. This table contains different ranges of distance, which will help you to determine which cost you will have to choose according to the actual distance you will make. You have then a second table, which will cover journeys inside one single country, so only if you travel in your country of origin, and for distance which are only between 50 kilometers and 400 kilometers. And last but not least, there will be a third table also available in the Commission decision, which will cover travels between countries which are generally close to each other, and also for a distance between 50 kilometers and 400 kilometers. So, for example, if you travel from Belgium to France, or from France to Spain, so they are attached by borders, and generally the distance are relatively still low. So you can see that in general, the distance covered by the decision are starting from a minimum of 50 kilometers. This means that in some rare cases, you will be still able to declare actual costs, mainly in the cases where your journeys will have a distance which is lower than 50 kilometers. This is really one among other exceptions where you will still be able to use actual costs. But in most of the cases, generally what we see is that the unit costs are prevailing. The second cost category here is the accommodation cost. Here, the unit that will be used is the night. So it means that the cost, this cost can be found in another table, together with the subsistence cost, and this cost covers the charges for your stay in hotels. So the costs are normally specific per country and are related to the cost of life in each country. So if you spend one night abroad, you can declare 1 unit cost. If you spend 2 nights, you can declare 2 unit cost. So you see, it's not so complicated normally. Finally, we have the third subsistence cost subcategory, which is it's the same principle, but here the unit that will be used is the day. So if you are staying 2 days abroad, you will be allowed to declare 2 unit costs. If you stay 3 days, 3 unit costs, etc. So it is still the same system. In case you are traveling to distant countries, which are, for example, mainly located outside the EU, for example, if you go to the US, the table for distances higher than 400 kilometers is, of course, also valid. So this table can cover really almost all the destinations that you would travel. But in case of distant countries, but sorry, regarding the accommodation and subsistence cost, for such kind of countries which are not located in the EU, you will be also authorized to declare actual cost because those costs are not foreseen by the Commission decision. So for this kind of for these cases which are not so common, but which can of course happen, you can really exceptionally use actual cost. Just to finish about this part, I would like to give you a simple example. Let's imagine, for example, that one person is traveling for 3 days and leaving from Brussels to Nice in France. If I look on the website to this famous flight and well calculator I have told you about just a bit before, I can see, I type Brussels, I type Nice, and then the system will directly give me an approximation. It's not 1 meter, 1.5 meter, of course, but it will tell me that the distance is 823 kilometers. So I have an idea of the distance. I go into the Commission decisions to the table regarding travels which are higher than distance higher than 400 kilometers, and I will check. I will find the distance band ranging from 801 kilometers and 1,200 kilometers, and to this range, to this band, it will be associated a unit cost which is 276 euro. So it means that for one person traveling from Brussels to Paris, I will be able to declare one time 276 euro. If there are 2 persons or 3, then you will multiply, of course, this number by the number of persons. This cost, sorry, by the number of persons. For the accommodation and subsistence cost, I will look a bit more below into the Commission decision to the table which is dedicated to accommodation and subsistence cost, and I will discover with surprise that the respective cost for accommodation is 166 euro for 1 night and 102 euros for 1 day as subsistence cost. So since, let's say this person will stay 3 days and 2 nights in Nice, we will accordingly multiply and declare 166 euro times 2 nights and 102 euros times 3 days. Very, very easy, no? Isn't it? Voilà, so this is, but I can only, if I can give you an advice, please read carefully this Commission decision. It's not a super big document, it's more or less 20 pages, and it is very well done, and it will really give you the good information. Here there is an example of again the detailed budget table where you can see that from the left to the right you have to declare the destination of your travel, and you have to declare the unit cost per travel, accommodation, and subsistence. To the left, you see there is still a column which allow you to, in some cases, very few cases, which allows you to declare actual cost. But most of the cost will, of course, be declared as unit cost, where you will have to declare the amount per unit, the number of units, and the system will automatically calculate the respective total unit cost per person. Per person, yes. As my colleague Mariangela told you also, please pay attention to fill in all the columns. You have also 2 more columns where you have to declare if the travels are part of other work packages, and also you will have to give a small description about the travel itself, and also about the people who are the number of people who will travel. Let's go to the second subcategories of cost, which is equipment. To be honest, this cost category is not so much. It's not so often used in this type of call, but we see from time to time that for some reason you should buy some equipment like a computer, like an iPad, and because it would be really necessary for the good running of the actions. So if it is the case, you will have to declare those costs using your internal accountancy rules, mainly using the depreciation cost in order to declare this equipment. So the eligibility will correspond to the duration of the action. So of course you cannot declare the use of a computer that you use outside the period of the action itself, and you will have to use the rate of the actual use for this action. You will also need to have a proof that this equipment is recorded in the asset register of your accountancy, generally according to the international accounting standards or the usual practices of your internal policies. The last sub-cost category is the other cost category. This is mainly covering purchases which are specifically needed for the implementation of the action, and so that you really need, to use for the good running of the actions, like catering cost, the rent of a meeting room, some printing works, consumables, supplies, translations, publications. In some cases, also, if your EU requested contribution is higher than 325,000 euro, you will be requested to produce a financial statement certificate, which will need to be produced by an external auditor. So this cost also can be declared in these subcategories. Like also for subcontracting cost, you will have to use the best value for money or the lowest priced. And of course, here in this case, also you have to declare the actually incurred cost. The next cost category, we have already quite a lot talk about it. It goes about the EN additional coordination and networking costs. My operational colleagues have already talked quite a lot about it. So just to remind you that this consists of a lump sum, and which can be up to 10% of the consortium budgeted personnel cost. And it is intended to cover different kind of tasks which are more detailed in the call itself. These costs are refunded, as already said, also 100%, while all other eligible costs are refunded 60%. Last but not least, we have the indirect cost, which are also called operating costs, overheads. Those costs are also not they are really not directly linked to the action implementation, and then they cannot be attributed directly to it. But they are part of your normal day-to-day life, if I may say. So, example is the rent of an office, the utilities like, for example, water, electricity, gas, All those things, of course, are also part in a certain way of your project and can be included in this indirect cost. What is specific to for this indirect cost is the fact that no breakdown will be required from our side. So the system will automatically calculate a flat rate of 25%, and this will be calculated on the sum of personnel cost, purchase cost, and other costs, not including the subcontracting cost. In order to finish this presentation, I would also give you just a small word about project income. So we already said several times that from one side, you will receive from us a contribution, which is the grant, 100% for 100% sorry, for the networking cost, and 60% for all other cost category. But in some cases, you will have also to declare revenues and contribution by third parties. So income can be income or revenues can be generated by the action itself. So it can be, for example, conference participant fees, or you can also sell books during during some conference and things like this. You can also receive financial contribution from third parties, which have who have nothing to do with who are external to the project. But all those costs, all those revenues, you will have to declare them anyway. They are not eligible by themselves, but you will have to declare them also in the detailed budget table under the associated cost category. Also, if you use a part of own resources or the own contribution of coming from yourself, of course, in that case, you will have to declare them also in this part of the detailed budget table. But also, of course, they will also not be considered as eligible. As also a bit, it was also a bit approached by my colleague Gunnar, the payment arrangements. So at the signature of the grant agreement, you will directly receive the pre-financing in order to start working on the project. Oh, sorry, a bit too fast. So this you will receive directly this pre-financing in order to have already a kind of fresh money in order to be able to start in a good condition your grant, your action. Then you will receive an additional pre-financing of maximum 30% of the grant amount, normally after 12 months. As well as for the first pre-financing, I forgot to say that it is a pre-financing of 25%, the first one. You will not be asked to produce any report in order to give us a breakdown of the cost incurred. And so it is also a simple pre-financing. Then after, normally after 18 months, you will receive an interim payment. This interim payment will have to be linked with an interim report that you will produce and transmit to us in order to that we can check in detail the actual costs which were incurred. And last but not least, at the end of the action, or at the end of the project, of course, you will after 42 months you will have to present the final financial report that will need to be approved and allowing then the payment of the balance for your project. Last remark: all payments will be made to the coordinator, who will then redistribute the amounts to the different beneficiaries from the consortium. That's it. I will leave the floor again to Gunnar. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Alain. We've gone through the context, we've gone through the content, we've gone through the financial stuff. Now it's time for the technical side of it in a way. How to apply some key information about the steps to submit an application, who should apply. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been with us for about 2 hours now. We thank you for that. If you need a little break, you can just hit this pause button and come back to this recording, to this streaming whenever you want. But we will go on right now with a little set of details about the call itself. So first of all, Yeah, we know what this call is called. Just a reminder of the budget, it's 182 million and a half for 42 months. I've seen a question somewhere relating to the amount, that this is the exact same amount as we had in the previous EN period. That is correct. The budget for EN was established in the single market program for the entirety of the 7 years that this program runs for. And this is our legal basis, so we can't go much beyond that. That's the total budget of the call. Of course, what is really interesting for you is also the maximum grant amount per individual project. And there you have a list, an indicative list of the regional distribution of EN funds in every member state. We recommend you have a look at it. This is an indicative list, so it doesn't oblige you, but in view of the budget stability that we have, and in view of the somewhat limited resources altogether, this is quite a good indication of where the proposals ought to be and what sort of budget is available per region. Co-financing, Alain has just mentioned this to great detail, so I'm just going to repeat 60% for activities 1, 2, 3, and 100% for activity 4. Duration of the projects, no flexibility at all there. We're talking about projects lasting 42 months from the 1st of July 2025 to the 31st of December 2028. So that's the project duration. This is 1 year longer than the SMP will be in force for, but the Enterprise Europe network runs until the end of 2028. You can apply only via the Funding and Tenders portal. There is a link on the slide. The slides will obviously be shared via our website, but if you go to the Funding and Tenders portal, you'll see the submission link there as well. This is the only possible way to submit a proposal, and you have to submit your proposal for the first cutoff before the 19th of September 2024 at 5 p.m. Brussels time. 19th September 2024, 5 p.m. Brussels time. That's for the first cutoff. For the second cutoff, you have until the 4th of April 2025, again, 5 p.m. Brussels time. We will, more or less, have an evaluation period after the cutoff on the 19th of September. That goes from October to December. We will then have a period following that of another 3 months, so from January to March 2025, to do the actual grant preparation and to sign the grant agreements in order to be ready to start all EEN actions on the 1st of July 2025. For the second cutoff, the timeline is obviously a little different. As I just said, deadline is the 4th of February. So that means that we're going to have an evaluation period from February to April, and that we will do the grant agreements and the signature of the grant agreements between April and June 2025. Again, in order to be able to start all EN projects, including those from the second cutoff on the 1st of July 2025. But, ladies and gentlemen, there is one extremely important restriction for the second cutoff. The second cutoff is only open to those regions, to applicants from those regions where there is no EN consortium and no successful application after evaluation of the first cutoff. That means that somewhere between the first and the second cutoff deadline, we will publish a list of eligible regions for the second cutoff on the Funding and Tenders portal. This will be in the section on call updates. And it also means that applicants from regions where there is a retained proposal from the first cutoff will not even be eligible to apply. We're not going to evaluate proposals from regions where there is already an established project after the first cutoff. Please do keep that in mind. I'm saying that not so much to save you work on the second cutoff, but to make sure that you put a lot of effort in your proposal for the first cutoff. So, who can actually apply? Evidently, there are some basic eligibility conditions that concern everybody and that apply to everybody. The people, no, that's the wrong word. The entities that can apply are legal entities established in a member state of the European Union or in a country associated to the Single Market Programme. There is a list of countries associated to the Single Market Programme available on the Funding and Tenders portal. There is a link to it in the call document, so you will be able to read up on exactly which countries those are, but they are essentially the countries of the neighborhood of the European Union, and of course they also include the EFTA countries. Not eligible, in contrast, are natural persons. So if you are simply a person who would like to take part in EN, you can apply to work for one of our beneficiaries, but you cannot apply for funding under this call. Similarly, international institutions and EU bodies are not eligible to apply with the exception of the Joint Research Centre, and neither are organizations affected by EU restrictive measures, but these are again listed in the call document. So that's the side of who is allowed and who is not allowed to apply. Let's have a look at who we actually would like to see. Who should apply? First of all, the straightforward answer to that is consortia who are interested in running EN branches between 2025 and 2028, who are composed of established business support organizations with the capacities and the background that are listed in the call and that are needed to develop and to deliver EN activities. Of course, those organizations also need to be well connected in the regional or national support ecosystem for SMEs, for innovation activities, and for business support activities. And the organizations taking part in the network need to be willing to engage in and contribute to a large international network. So by kind of conclusion from that and by implication, this means that we would like to see consortia that contain an appropriate mix of entities that together can deliver the full range of EN services in their respective catchment area, in the geographic area that they cover. And before we get written questions on that, there is no official definition of an appropriate mix of entities. It's up to you to explain to us why the partners that you apply with are that appropriate mix. Typically, they include SME support organizations, trade promotion organizations, business organizations, regional development agencies, innovation agencies, research organizations, higher education institutions, and so on. But I'm definitely not saying that every consortium has to include all of these. These are simply examples of the type of organizations that we would like to see in an EN consortium. But as I said, the choice of which ones to include is yours. Usually we get applications from 2 or more partners in one consortium, but there is no legal reason to stop individual organizations from applying on their own either, as long as they can provide the full range of EN services. Possibly unlike a number of other EU-funded projects, there is, in this case, no obligation for a transnational consortium composition, so it is perfectly acceptable to have one consortium that only covers one particular region in one member state, or that covers the member state as a whole, but that does not have a cross-border membership. Well, on the other hand, it is also perfectly allowed to submit cross-border or cross-regional applications. However, if your application covers several regions or several countries, you must be present, physically present with offices in all regions of the catchment area. At the same time, you must also present a proposal for a geographically coherent region. So we can't really have an EN consortium covering the northern, eastern, western, and southern corners of the EU and leaving the middle completely untouched. It has to be one coherent region that actually makes sense. So that's who should apply. I suppose by implication, we can say that who should not apply is, first of all, evidently anybody not meeting the eligibility criteria. That's a no-brainer. But also, no consortium should really, sorry to say so, waste its time to apply if you do not intend or are not able to provide the full service range of the Enterprise Europe Network. We're not going to accept applications that only propose to deliver half or a third or whatever proportion of the EN activities. EN activities need to be deployed, developed, and delivered in full by the consortium unless they're already provided by another organization in the existing region and you would otherwise enter in undue competition. If that's the case, you have to explain it in your proposal. Furthermore, any organization and any consortium not willing to commit to the ways of working that are described for the network in the call chapter 234 does not really stand much of a chance to get through the evaluation. So please read those working methods, including cooperation with other network partners, including the amount of time that needs to be invested in bringing EEN to the quality levels at network level that we require, and keeping in mind that our working methods also imply working with clients, SME clients from outside your region. So if you're not willing to do that, then this is not the right call for you. And finally, please do not apply to this call either if you intend to establish an international network partner. International network partners are those that are located in countries outside the EU and outside countries participating in the single market program. So basically, that's the worldwide coverage of EEN. We have a worldwide coverage, but there is a separate procedure for applications for non-EU and non-SMP countries. That will be launched later on, so please don't apply to this call for that. Well, this slide on what is available, that has already been covered on a number of occasions, so I'm just going to repeat very briefly here for the record. Selected proposals will be offered a grant for 42 months, starting the 1st of July 2025, ending on the 31st of December 2028. 60% co-financing, except for activity 4, which is 100%, and 25% indirect cost. Once we receive all the proposals, we will move on to the evaluation procedure, which essentially means that all proposals that are passing the admissibility and eligibility check will be evaluated on the basis of the exact same award criteria. The evaluation will be carried out by independent experts, so not by EU officials, but by people who are actually independent and will only work for this particular call in that context. And of course, all proposers will be informed of the outcome of the evaluation in writing via the Funding and Tenders portal. This is irrespective of whether you're eligible or admissible or not, or whether your proposal is retained or not. You will always receive a written answer after the evaluation. Successful proposals will obviously be invited to prepare and sign a grant agreement later on. I said before, only one proposal will be selected per region, and only proposals from regions where there is no coverage after the first cutoff are eligible to apply for the second cutoff. But in that context, I should remind you or simply reiterate that in case of competing proposals from the same region, we will also only select one, and then we'll obviously select the one with the highest evaluation score. There will, in other words, never be two competing EEN grant agreements and EEN consortia, operating EEN consortia in the same region. We'll select the one with the highest score, and the other one will initially be put on a reserve list, and unless the selected one fails to sign the grant agreement, will later on then not be retained. So we've been talking a little bit about the award criteria already. Let me give you a slightly better idea of what these are about. The award criteria, other than the eligibility and admissibility criteria, which are sort of quite technical and they're kind of yes, no things, the award criteria assess the actual quality of your proposal. Every proposal is read and scored by 3 independent experts, and they all have up to 100 points to score the proposals with. These 100 points are distributed across 4 evaluation criteria or award criteria. First one is relevance. The second one is project design and implementation. The third one is project team and cooperation arrangements. And the fourth one is impact. The first 3, relevance and project design, implementation, and project team and cooperation arrangements, they can all score a maximum of 30 points. 30 points is then an absolutely excellent proposal with no shortcomings and no weaknesses. The threshold, the evaluation threshold for these 3 criteria is 16 points, so 1 point more than 50%. The impact criterion has 10 points to score, and the threshold is 6 points. So again, 50% plus 1 point. And to be very clear about this, to be considered for funding, proposals must pass the overall threshold of 70 points, 70 out of 100, as well as the individual thresholds for all 4 evaluation criteria. So if you score the minimum, 16, 16, 16, and 6, that gives you 54 points. You've passed the individual thresholds, but you've not passed the overall threshold, the proposal will not be retained. If you're excellent in the first 3, you score 90 points, and you write nothing on impact, so you score 0 or even 5. You're below threshold, even though you're on 95 points, you are not going to be retained because one criterion was evaluated below threshold. So after all that talk about criteria, let me conclude this, well, the first part of the info session with a few tips for a good proposal. First of all, I know this sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised how important it is to stress this. Please read the call carefully. And please also read the Q&A that we have on the Funding and Tenders portal quite carefully. Then, on the basis of that, please take your time to write a clear, concise, and coherent proposal, one that reflects the structure and the logic of the call of the Enterprise Europe Network as it is presented in the call, and a proposal that addresses all the activities that are listed in the call without inventing anything that is not called for. Please also present a clear implementation strategy that explains how you want to put into practice the project that you're describing, and address how you want to implement key principles such as the hub and spoke model. It doesn't help to simply copy and paste what's written in the call and say, we will do this. It won't do. What we need to know is to understand how you will do it and what your rationale and your strategy behind that is. And that involves setting clear and measurable objectives that are at the same time realistic. No rocket science in that. It also means clearly describing the division of tasks and responsibilities between the different partners and the distribution of activities across different work programs. Again, please don't mess with the work programs, projects, what's the word? Work packages. Don't mess with these, please. They are supposed to be what they are in the call document. Please also prepare a complete and realistic budget based on the information that you have in the call document, and that are also based on the needs that you have to implement the project. It is, I'm going to be a little bit blunt here, it is not helpful to present a budget that's twice as high as the available budget. We're simply not going to be able to implement it. And then, a few very general comments as well. Just sit down and get a second pair of eyes to read your proposal before you submit it, because it always helps to get a second or third or fourth opinion. And I think something we can't stress enough is please submit early. Don't wait until 3 minutes before the deadline. There can always be a technical glitch. There can always be, I don't know, there can be a thunderstorm when your internet connection goes. Please be sure that you submit early. If after you've submitted, you want to submit an updated version, that is always possible before the deadline. But if you've not submitted anything, you will not be able to submit late. Your proposal would not be accepted. If you have any questions about the technical side of the application process, if you need help with the Funding and Tenders portal, please check the online manual on the Funding and Tenders portal if that doesn't help, or if you need help with lost passwords, access rights, and so on, please write to the IT help desk. The link is also on the Funding and Tenders portal. If you have questions about the call itself, please drop us an email, or as you've already been very busy doing, as we've seen during the last 2 hours, you can leave us questions on our Slido here today. We will put the replies out after we've presented them in the next 3/4 of an hour on the Q&A session of the Funding and Tenders portal. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, pleased to conclude the presentation of what we think you wanted to hear about the EEN call. Now we move on to the questions and hopefully to the answers as well. We have about 100 of them already, my colleagues have told me. So we're going to go through them bit by bit. You were kindly asked to share your questions in, or to divide them in 4 rooms. Those 4 rooms reflect the 4 main areas that we have. And you'll be glad to hear that you won't only have to listen to me to get the answers. I am joined here once again by my 4 colleagues, who on balance are actually 5. Mattia Sorrentino, Alberto Valenzano, Mariangela Bartolomeo Alanzonians, and Erwan Le Guen. And they will help me go through your questions, and they will hopefully provide you with as many answers as we can. Now, if we don't have your answer, do not worry. We will publish an answer in writing. So if you don't hear an answer to your question today, you will read it on the Funding and Tenders portal before very long. So Let's go through the first question here. The first question is a guideline. This is about the objectives. Guidelines mention paid campaigns and social media advertising in the communication activities. Is it compulsory to include paid campaigns? Mattia, I'd like to turn to you for that one. You're on screen, so off you go. You can talk from where you are, if that mic works.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah.
Now it works. Yes. So indeed, in this call, we are specifying that partners need to ensure a wide range of communication activities, and ensuring paid campaigns and advertising is also a way to make sure that the outreach of the network is actually successful. So indeed, you should include and foresee carrying out also paid campaigns and advertising from your channels, from your national channels. Yes.
Thank you, Mattia. The next question is for Alberto. Is the participation of SMEs in transition pathways an activity that can be counted as SME feedback activity?
Yes, you can hear me. I'm not sure I would count it as SME feedback activity. I think it really much depends on what you offer to your SMEs in the context of transition pathways. First, maybe we should clarify in 2 minutes what transition pathways are, because I don't know if everybody who's listening it knows, but there's no time. No, we go ahead then. I would say that it very much depends what you offer. If you offer information about transition pathways to your SMEs, it could be counted as an information activity, and thus as a related achievement. I think that to answer to this question, you should have a look at what exactly you're offering to SMEs in this context, and then look at how we define the KPIs and the achievements, and then try to understand what you would consider it as. And if you have doubts, I would say that it's better to maybe file a more specific questions in the FAQ, and then we will try to answer it.
Okay, thank you, Alberto. So answer a little bit more complex, but the bottom line, I think, is helping SMEs with the transition pathways is an eligible activity of EE, and that can lead to results. Next question. Are other types of organizations than SMEs eligible for support by Enterprise Europe networks, such as universities, technologies, science institutions, etc.? Let's say the key target audience of EEN is SMEs. But in some cases, research organizations, etc., are also involved. But this is a sort of case-by-case decision that we'll have to take. Let's say key targeted audience remains SMEs, and the exceptions on that are listed in the call. I'm not sure which chapter at the moment, but you will find a slightly more detailed answer about that in the call text. Next question is whether SMEs are eligible to become part of consortium. There is no restriction in the eligibility criteria against SMEs being part of consortium. So as long as they have a useful role to play and can contribute to the success of the consortium, then that is possible. Will a brokerage event be a first level service? No, I think that's a second level service. Erwan, do you want to elaborate on that maybe?
Well, helping a client in taking part in the brokerage event is indeed would be a second level service. When you organize a brokerage event, it's possible that clients register on their own. So in that case, you haven't provided them any service yet. So, but once you start helping a client deal with the follow up or prepare for actively for a brokerage event, that would be a second level service. So organizing a brokerage event and having clients register on their own, which is possible if you would have new clients coming up registering for a brokerage event, that wouldn't be a second level service. But as soon as you start like the follow up and you help them like develop their work towards a deal, and that would be recorded by you as a partnering achievement, that would be a second level service.
Great, thank you. You can keep the mic actually, because next question is also for you. It's about the calculation of achievements per FTE. How do we calculate that ratio, given that FTE is linked to individual personnel cost of each partner?
Well, in the proposal, you have to indicate the resources allocated to each work package, and this total. I mean, you have like a person months to indicate in the proposal, and the total person months allocated to the proposal would lead to I mean, helps you calculate the full-time equivalent that you have in your that you have assigned to the project.
All right, thank you. The next question is already a little bit financial here, and this is about the requirements for being a coordinator. Are there any specific requirements for the coordinator as regards their financial capacity? And I mean, I can already say that there is a financial capacity check, which has to be slightly positive, but Alain...
Indeed, I confirm this. We will always check the financial capacities of all the beneficiaries, not only of the coordinator, but for the coordinator, we will mainly pay attention to the fact that he will have to satisfy a certain level of financial satisfaction, if I may say. So if the ratio, which will be calculated by our colleagues of the REA, the execution, the REA agency, if the ratio will lead to a weak position, the coordinator will have to be changed and to give place to a more financial stable beneficiary. This doesn't mean that the coordinator in that case cannot continue in the consortium, but it will not. But it will continue as a normal, if I may say, beneficiary.
All right, thank you. You can, again, keep the microphone because next question is also a little bit financial here. What type of cost will be eligible under Work Package 4? Only personnel cost, also travel cost? I think I know the answer. I think it's personnel cost and other direct cost, but Alain, please enlighten us.
Sorry, for the specifically, these are questions. Yes. No, for the Work Package 4, it will be only personal. Travel cost and will be allowed. Yes, of course. Yes.
The official definition, I think,
yes,
is personnel cost and other direct cost.
Exactly.
So yes, travel cost can be part of Work Package 4, indeed. Now, the next question is on the definition of the target audience. Again, it's about whether we have to focus only on SMEs ready to scale internationally, or whether such services as digitalisation, sustainability advice, and so on can also be provided to services who are not yet ready to scale. Now, some of our services are actually designed to enable companies to scale. And those can obviously be delivered to companies that aren't yet ready to scale. Those services that specifically target digitalization or sustainability and so on, they also have a much lower requirement, let's say, for the international scalability. What we generally tend to say, and Alberto, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that in a second, is that EN should target companies that have the potential or ability to innovate and or grow internationally. Is that about right?
Yes, that's correct. And also you have to take into account that digitalization and sustainability advisory services to SMEs do contribute to making the SME also internationally scalable. So that's the kind of framework in which you should see the advisory services in these areas.
Okay, thank you. Now, the next question is a trick question, I think. If there is an experienced consortium successfully implementing EN services in a region, can a new consortium in the same region be successful in this call? The official answer to that is yes, of course it can. Simply because we expect every consortium that submits a proposal, whether they already run a network office or not, to provide a good, acceptable, and forward-looking proposal. The fact that you might be implementing EN activities now does not give you any brownie points. It does not give you any advantages in the evaluation per se. Obviously, you will have the background of your knowledge acquired in the last 3 or more years. You can exploit on that, but there is no guarantee that there is no other consortium that could theoretically provide us with a better proposal. It's difficult, but it's possible. Now, you are established business support organizations in your region, and you're well connected with other support providers. I can only recommend you to get in touch with potential applicants and see how you can create one consortium that gathers all the strengths in your region? And that is as much as I will be drawn on that question, I'm afraid. So, do we have other questions in this room, dear colleagues, at the back of my room here? Yes.
Things on the question about the eligible SMEs. So as I also explained on my presentation, of course, for us, it's compulsory that the declaration of the SMEs is relating to not receiving salary for the action. This is compulsory for us. And also the fact that they need to declare the status of SMEs on the portal. This is the check that also at a financial level that we do.
When you say not receiving salary, you refer to the SME owners?
Yeah, exactly, for the owners.
Okay. So I think there is a slight difference here between SME owners and the participation of SMEs as entities.
But
it's important.
Yeah, it's important to specify also that point, because we don't know which type of SMEs they ask it, so better to precise.
Great, thank you. Now I have a couple of other questions here on my screen. What about agencies, public, local, or regional? Are they eligible to apply? Well, I mean, generally, yes. If they meet the criteria that are written down in the call document, then yes, of course. Is there a specific call for newcomer consortia? No. Everybody gets evaluated on the same basis. There are no extra points, as it were, for newcomers for organizations or consortia with newcomer status. We evaluate every proposal on the basis of the quality of the actions and the operational capability, whether or not the organizations are new or not. Now, the next question is obviously one from somebody who already has some current experience in EN. So it is about whether KPI 2 gets counted automatically. So this is the number of clients in a client journey. Yes, we do actually count those automatically. Next one is also quite easy. Is code sharing included in work package 4, and is mentoring explained in more detail? That's 2 questions in one. Now, code sharing is an easy one. Code sharing, sector groups and thematic groups is as much an eligible activity under activity 4 as chairing them is. So the answer to that one is definitely yes. Is mentoring explained in more detail? Yeah, we have it somewhere. Erwan, do you have more details on mentoring?
No, my point was about the previous question.
Okay, we can also go for that. Go on.
The question also mentioned that if a client is counted by one partner, it's not counted by the others. The clients are counted at consortium level. So, I mean, and there should be support. Each client should be registered once in the platform and served by all partners in the consortium and anybody else they want to involve in helping that client. So you register clients once and then everybody helps that client.
Thanks for that. And indeed escaped me. So thanks for adding that on. Do you fancy talking a bit about mentoring? What does mentoring mean in the context of EN?
Well, for newcomers in the network, let's say if you have a new international network partners, they might need mentoring to get acquainted to how the network works and how to set up network services, what's expected of a partner in the network. So they would partner up with one or more experienced partners who would explain to them and guide them through that. The other possibility is you're developing, let's say, sustainability support, and it's not very developed in your region for one reason or another, and you would need mentoring from more experienced partners who have a lot more experience in that areas, and you can find a mentor and get mentoring on this, like get support in how to set up your services, concrete advice. This is like more long-term support. So it's someone, it's like a colleague that you can call anytime, like about to get concrete help on how to set up or how to manage or how to implement your services.
Thank you. The next question, and after that, I would suggest that we 2 more questions. Okay, and after that, I suggest we move on to the next room. So the next question is a little bit technical, and I'm going to have to rely on Mariangela and Alain to see whether we know anything about it at all. Otherwise, we'll get back to you in writing. Can a partner be part of a consortium as affiliated entity under an umbrella organization that is partner in the same consortium? I must admit I'm a bit out of my depth on that one. I'd kind of say probably, but I'd have to check in writing. But Mariangela, you have more ideas.
Yes, it's really a specific question. So we don't have a really generic answer on that, so it will be necessary to check in concrete the situation. So in case you have some similar situation, please come back directly to us asking via email, and we will find the correct answer to you.
That was my feeling. Thank you very much. We will do that. So yeah, please, whoever asked that question, please check the funding and tenders portal. Now, the last one in this room on this topic is, don't take it away yet, please, colleagues, about the requirement for partners in a consortium not to cover the same region of the country within their activities. There are no particular restrictions as to who offers what, where in the consortium. Within the region that you cover in your consortium, you can arrange the coverage of activities as you like, and you can also have two partners in the same consortium that offer similar types of activity as long as you're clear about who does what. And then finally, the question about sector group membership. This is about individuals joining sector group. I would kindly ask you to wait for an answer in writing. We will not go into the detail here because that's about the actual implementation. So we have another question, another set of rounds. What is EEN and what does it do? First question is, will there be a provision for closed calls such as Business Bridge and EE Energy programs where EEN acts as an intermediary for cascade funding? This is a question that's very difficult to answer in advance, but Alberto may be able to give us a few ideas here.
If I understand the question, they're asking whether there's a provision in the current call about those. Oh, okay, sorry. There's no provision in this call. If the need for complementary action arises, we will structure them in different calls, and thus I will not go much more in details right now on this because they are separate actions, so to say.
Good, thank you, Alberto. The next question is about research partnership agreements. Is it compulsory for a recipient of EN services to receive funding from an EU funding program in order for a partnering service to be counted as an achievement? Ladies and gentlemen, please read the call text carefully. It says that the condition for registering a research partnering agreement is inclusion in a consortium applying for research funding. I won't go into more details. Next question. Do all sector groups and thematic group have to be covered by members of consortium? No, it is important that you cover those that make sense in the context of your consortium's activities, of the economic strength of the region, and also in the context of the resources that you have. If you have 5 people working on EN, it doesn't make sense if you have to be part of 25 groups. Please select those that make sense and make a useful proposal on that basis. Please don't take this answer to mean you can just ignore them. They are very important parts of the network. This answer means please give us a good strategy of how to use them well.
And if I can add something on this, Gunnar, of course, if you have a small consortium with limited staff, then what if you need help, let's say in digitalization, and you don't have the capacity to be in that thematic group? Well, you can always ask for help. This is what the hub and spoke system is all about. You can contact experts who are in the thematic group to get support for your client.
Thank you, Erwan. Good addition indeed. Then the next question is about whether there is a possibility for KPI 1 to be reported directly by the EN partner in the IT platform. Honestly, I can't answer that question right now. We will make it as easy as possible. But either way, there will be a relatively simple way for you to report back on that to us. Okay, then I finally have a question again for Mattia, and this is about content and visibility of the website and the host organization. Mattia, do you want to elaborate on what sort of requirements we have there?
Yeah, so the easy answer to this question is yes. So visibility, it's never either or, but it's always both and. So indeed, the host organization must give visibility to the network from their own channels, websites, social media. So even if there is already a consortium website or a national website, host organizations, who are the ones who have the direct contact with our target audience on the ground, need to commit to giving this visibility to the network on their own channels by posting regularly network-related content, which is visibly branded, so featuring our visual identity guidelines and elements, in order for it to be visible for and recognizable for the audience when they scroll through their social platforms. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mattia. Next question is again about eligibility, and I think it leads me to make a general comment here. If the eligibility criteria don't exclude a particular type of organization, it means that they are eligible. And that also applies for not-for-profit organizations. So yes, technically you're eligible to apply as long as you are a legal entity and you're established in one of the countries that are covered by the call. Of course, financial capacity and so on also counts. Yes, you're right. Then there is a question about biotech hubs, which were becoming a topic for the EU, and something that's not yet represented in sector groups. And are we going to go into that direction? What is expected from consortia in that area? My first answer to that is please read the call. I'm not sure there is a lot in it about it. So Alberto, maybe you have something else to add.
No, I can just confirm what you said. If you read the call, there's nothing about it in the call because we have no priority at the moment on those. If the needs arise, as I said in the previous question, we will do it through separate actions.
Thank you. We go back to a communication question here. Do all consortia have to be reflected in a national website if there are more than one consortia in a country? And who is in charge of the national website? Mattia.
So I will maybe copy you this time and say, please read the call very carefully. So in countries with only one consortium, one website with national reach is sufficient. In countries with more than one consortium, basically each consortium needs to have one website, and then there needs to be also one central access window to the network at national level. So and so indeed all consortia have to be part of the national website, and so who is in charge of the national website? Ideally, there should be a coordination at national level out of the different consortium communication correspondents, and they need to coordinate themselves who deals with the content on this national website, who feeds it, who manages it, and so on. So the coordination would lead to understand who really is in charge of which aspect of the website. Voilà.
Thank you, Mattia. And you can keep the mic. Our own defined communication KPI is still necessary. And I think here we are talking about a distinction between the KPI and communication that's in the call and about the indicators that you will have in your strategy.
So indeed, the communication KPIs for the strategies and also for the annual communication work plan, which will be required on a later stage, are indeed necessary. It is very important to include a specific section in your communication strategies, specifying a mix of qualitative and quantitative KPIs. So yes, indeed.
Thank you. The next question on screen here about client coaches. This has nothing to do with a future network that's in the current network, so we're going to skip it here. This next question has already been answered. Code sharing is eligible under activity 4. Then is there a minimum number of partners to make a consortium? Ladies and gentlemen, I refer thee to the question I answered a few moments ago, which is that we generally expect consortia to be of 2 or more applicants, but it is perfectly possible to have just one, as long as you cover all the eligibility criteria and all the activities of the network. Is it really necessary that there is a separate partner in each region? Will a representative offices in smaller regions be enough? I'm not sure I fully understand that question, but I presume it is about whether you can work with antennas. I'm going to get started on the word virtual here because we have to insist that EN is a people network. So we would like EN to be physically present in the regions that it covers. We can not have a proposal for a broad region of EN with no actual physical offices that can be visited. We need EN to be approachable as people, as persons. The term region is generally defined at the level of sort of NUTS 1 or anything that equates to that in your national environment. And in that sense, yes, I think we probably do need a partner in every broad region. But ladies and gentlemen, please simply do make sure that your proposal explains how you ensure full coverage of the respective area that you propose to cover, and then you'll be okay. There is one question left here before we go on to the next room, and that is about a comment that we made. Low levels of involvement or low levels of resource allocation to work package 4 will be considered as a weakness. What does that mean? It essentially means that if we see that you don't engage enough in contributing to the overall quality of the network and that you're not sufficiently prepared to work with clients from other regions of other consortia, even from other countries, and to engage with your network colleagues from those other regions and countries, then you will receive, in all likelihood, a lower score on the cooperation arrangements evaluation criterion. That is essentially what it means. It also translates our ambition to make the network as collaborative and as mutually supportive as possible. With that, dear colleagues, I would like to ask you to move on to the room number 3, where I'm going to be extremely reliant on Mariangela and Alain. It's all financial. Even though the first one proved me wrong. Available budget of the call fiche. This budget may be increased by a maximum of 20%. What does that mean? I'm going to answer that by saying what it does not mean. It does not mean that you can simply ask for 20% more budget for each individual project. This provision is a standard provision that exists in every call for proposals under the SMP, and it simply allows a little bit of flexibility to increase the overall budgetary envelope of the call. For example, to include projects from the reserve list. For example, to, actually, that is the main thing. It may also be that additional resources become available at a later stage and they are absorbed by running actions. This is what this flexibility clause is there for. It is not a clause that can be invoked by beneficiaries. It only gives a little bit of legal wriggle room to the Commission and the agency to increase the volume of the call if it's necessary. But, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that your call budget, your proposal, is based on the figures that you currently read in the call document. No speculation on what might happen with 20% or anything else. Next question. This is, I think, really for the financial officers here. Can we expect an updated... No, actually, it's not. It's for Alberto. Sorry. Can we expect an updated version of the unit costs for subsistence and travel? Alberto, I think I know the answer.
Yes, the answer is that we do not have yet a final date and information for when this updated version of the unit cost decision will be published. I can only say it's in the process, and we will inform beneficiaries as soon as we know more details, basically. I cannot say more at this point, sorry.
Thank you, Alberto. And this also answers the next question about whether there should be a kind of buffer in case there is an amendment for the unit costs for travel. Colleagues, gentlemen, ladies, you have to base your proposals on the currently available information. No speculation. If there is an amendment later on, we will make sure that the right methodologies, the right mechanisms to put that into practice are made available. I should say that if there is an amendment of the unit cost in any short period of time, we'll be able to reflect it even in the grant agreement preparation process. So really, please write the proposals on the basis of the information that is currently available and don't speculate. Okay, how does one calculate travel cost when destination is not known? For example, sector group meetings held outside of Brussels. That is a relatively good question, and Mariangela is already spicing up her mic. Off you go.
When it's outside of Brussels, what it means? We don't know that
It means not here.
Yeah, this is clear. So
anyway, the destination is not known.
So of course, also if it's an estimation of cost, as we show you on our presentation, it's compulsory for us to put one place or one city, one country, with specifying that is to be confirmed, for example. But for do the first check of the correct unit cost used in line with the Commission decision, we need to see specific place.
So essentially, we need to make an educated guess on where it might.
For example, we are not sure 100% that will be in Brussels. I don't know. Hypothetically, it will be in Paris or in Rome. Okay, perfect. You put Rome, you calculate the distance from Berlin, is an example, to Rome, with the unit cost relating Italy for accommodation and subsistence, specifying on the description of the table that this meeting on Rome is not sure because we don't know in the future.
And am I correct to assume that, given that it's indeed extremely difficult to estimate or to predict where a meeting will take place, that it's probably safest to take cities as an example here that are more or less in, sort of in the medium range of distance and budget?
Exactly.
So
for a good estimation, yeah.
Please do that, and keep in mind that even though unit costs have changed the mindset of many people, this is a problem that exists regardless of whether you use unit costs or actual costs.
Summarize, so to be confirmed, it's better to an empty box.
Sorry?
Be confirmed, so like a description, is better to receive a form with an empty box without any type of description.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. To be confirmed means you've thought about it and you don't know. An empty box means you've forgotten it. So basically, keep that in mind. Next question is about budget transfers. Is it, because it's difficult to estimate the exact amount of work package 4, is it possible to transfer an activity and budget to another work package? Now, there are two sides of the answer to that. It is possible to transfer part of the budget for activity 4 to another work package later on. That requires an amendment. It is not possible to transfer any of the activities that are listed as being part of work package 4 to another work package. So you can't say, I'm not sure whether I'm going to be sector group chair, so I'm going to put that option in work package 3. No, chairing a sector group is part of work package 4 and it has to stay there. But if you propose 10% of your budget of personnel cost of other activities to go to work package 4, you write in your strategy, we might be participating in sector groups as chairs and co-chairs, and then it turns out that you don't need the full budget, you can transfer the budget with an amendment later on to another activity. Is that about right?
Principle of the flexibility of the budget, as is reported on the grant agreement.
Exactly. But there, please keep in mind, it's a lump sum. That means any change to it needs an amendment. Organizing sector group meetings, hosting sector group meetings can, I believe, also be part of work package 4. We'll get back to you in writing on that. Next question is on the detailed budget table. Alla Mariangela, do we need to fill in a row with costs for each individual team member, or can we sum up the total? Give him the hot potato.
No, of course, you have to declare cost per person, of course. You cannot yes, you cannot put everything together. We need to have a good view about the performance, about what each person is contributing, or is each person contributing to the action. And that's why, as it was also said, that the person months are very important also at the gap stage in order to evaluate if the estimation is really in line with the action. Yes.
So keep in mind, one line per staff member. Otherwise, by the way, it'll be also be extremely difficult to keep track of your personnel cost in case there is ever an audit. Next question is still about work package 4. Are the personnel costs that are to be included in work package 4 to be part of personnel cost in the detailed budget table, or should they be in the lump sum in cost category D3? I think the latter is the case, but Alain Mariangela will give you the details.
No, of course, we have to make a distinction between the costs which are declared under the normal personnel cost and the costs which are declared under the D1 cost category, which but indeed the people who will declaring cost under the networking and coordination cost will have to be personal cost also. But this is there must be a distinction between the two categories.
Summary: everything that's personnel cost for activity 4 has to go into cost category
Exactly.
3,
Exactly.
not into direct personnel.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Next question is has gone. Where is it? This was about whether a staff member can essentially work in 3-4 different work packages, including work package 4, and whether their time spent on work package 4 can still be funded at 100%. The answer is yes, it's activity based. So if you spend 10% of your working time on activity 4, those 10% can be co-financed at 100%, and the remaining 90% of your EN time is on the other work packages. That'll be co-financed in the normal way.
This is the reason why we ask also on our table to specify in case that person work also in other working package.
Thank you. I'm going to rush through the next few questions because we're sort of running out of time a bit, but I don't want to cut the financial questions too short, so we might be overrunning our session by 5 minutes or so, but please rest assured that you will receive all your answers in writing as well. Does Activity 4 also cover acting as a national, only cover acting as a national communication champion, or does it also apply to countries where there is only one consortium? Mattia has the answer for you there.
So basically, in countries with only one consortium, the communication correspondent would also be automatically considered as national communication champion. So the two profiles are, in those countries, the same, let's say, the overlap.
Thank you. And then Alain, Maria Angela, where can we download the budget template sheet? It's on the Funding and Tenders portal, right?
So this one, it was one print screen on my first slide when I started so my presentation on the participant portal, of course.
Yeah, that's it.
You have the button specific for downloading the template.
And the link to that is, of course, also on our call page. Okay, guys, why do we have to use monthly rates in the proposal and daily rates in the reports? Do we have a good answer for that?
Why? So no, by the way, so it's just that in the general rules is that at the stage of the preparation of the gap preparation, it's allowed to the beneficiary to declare the monthly rates for the personal cost. That, as I showed during my presentation, is calculated for person for the work spent on the action. But this is just the modality for calculate the personal cost on the estimation of the cost. So we maintain monthly just like a cost estimated. When we start with the concrete action, so not with an estimation, but with the really incurred cost on the action, we ask to you to declare daily rates that are completely different, calculated in comparison with the monthly, and that are also in concrete calculated on the 215 days maximum, as I specify on my presentation. Alan?
Yes, I would just want to add a little comment. Before, in previous call, before SMP, in fact, we were mainly using different kind. There were different possibilities, like using hourly rate, like using actual cost for personnel. But no, we are in the new work program. We are really focusing on the days, so on this maximum of 215 productive days per year. So mainly that's why now at interim and final report we are asking for this daily rate. But personally, I would, and as Maria-Angela correctly said, I would advise you to directly now use this daily rate also. It's not a compulsory condition to use monthly rate. Even, and you will see in the column it is written monthly or order. But I would advise you to use already the daily rate, so in order to be in an harmonization with the future transmission of interim report and final reports. Yes. please, I think it should be a good advice to use daily rate instead of monthly rate.
Thank you, Alain, Mariangela. Next question is about unit costs again. And it suggests there is a difference in the way the distance is taken into account depending on whether we're traveling by rail or flight. Let me just confirm here that the unit cost rate covers the return journey and the distance is measured on the basis of the single distance. There is no difference in terms of treating those, whether we're talking about flight or about railway. The next question I think has already been answered in part. Can we use an estimated global amount for travel costs? No, you have to be detailed in this. Sorry to be strict on that, but otherwise the budget table simply does not work.
The description of the travel is better also to specify directly. For example, the meeting will be from to. So the from to is useful for us to immediately jump on the same website that we reported to you on our presentation. We do the same calculation as you. We put from X city to, I don't know, A city. And we calculate the distance and we jump on the commission decision to checking the correct unit cost reported for that distance.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll answer one last question on the financial side and then we move on to the last room and we'll do about 5 or 6 minutes on that one. This is about the requested EU contribution. Can that be lower than 60% for some partners if there are justified reasons?
True to really understand this because this is something what is the interest of using no, it's compulsive. The rate will be automatically applied on the calculation of the will be automatically applied on the total eligible cost declared. So I don't really understand why a lower rate should be applied.
Alain, if there is a very specific condition here that any potential proposer needs to check with us, please drop us a mail on that in writing and we'll try and get back to it on the details. I'll prove myself wrong. Can an organization apply in different applications? Is in the call document? Yes. Okay, this is the last room that we're going to have time for and also the last room that we have, fortunately. So this is about how to apply. This is about application forms. The application forms are available in the Funding and Tenders portal once you start the proposal. There are no templates available before that. Is the share of effort in FTP per activity calculated for the entire consortium or for the individual partner? This, Erwan, correct me if I'm wrong, but the share is per consortium. So again, as before with the distribution of activities within one organization, you can do whatever you want. But as a consortium, at consortium level, you have to meet the 65% and so on. Can one legal entity apply with 2 different consortia within the same country? There are scenarios where that is imaginable. For example, when you have a national research organization that is part of several consortia, there it's possible, but please be very careful that you don't end up competing with yourself. Okay, let's go for the next question, which is, will the evaluation be concluded by internal evaluators or by external evaluators? Again, this was discussed before, it's external evaluators. Is it possible to have more than one EN center in the same city? Yes, of course, that's possible. It is not possible to have more than one EN consortium in any given catchment area, but it is possible that several EN organizations, EN offices, are based in the same city. It's the case now, it will be the case in future. Is it possible to include a technical coordinator in charge of the implementation of project activities and financial coordination for all financial aspects? There is one coordinator and there is one organization that reports back to ASMEA. But within the consortium, you can arrange the activities more or less as you like. So if you would like another organization to follow up on the finances of your consortium, you can get them involved, but it will be you as coordinator who takes responsibility of the final product and submits it to us. Now, when deciding the targets for KPI, it is important to know whether we will still have the client database in the community. Yes, the client database in community will remain. Do we have anything to add to that, Erwan, or? No. Okay, good. Which member of the host organization, Lear Financial Signatory, etc., needs to confirm the application? I believe it's the Lear that has to send it off, right? But by all means, double check on that because I'm not 100% certain. The information is in the funding and tenders portal. Please have a look there. Then, by the way, summer holidays, guys, you've got until the 19th of September. So is this call for existing consortium or for the establishment of new consortia? This call is in order to set up the Enterprise Europe network for 2025 to 2028, and all organizations who meet the eligibility criteria are eligible, whether or not they are on the current network or not. Okay, the next question there, it is not possible to join an existing consortium through this call. You have to team up with a consortium in order to apply for this call. And then we have a question, whether this call is written, in the call is written, one project per region will be approved. If there are already 2 existing EN points in the same island, is it eligible to have another one? Now, this question is a little bit tricky. We're not talking about individual organizations in the eligibility. We're talking about consortia. So we have one consortium per region that could very easily include 2 organizations. Are you eligible to apply if there is an EN organization right now? Again, yes. Let me be very clear. The current contractual period of the network ends on the 31st of June 2025. The contractual period for the new network starts on the 1st of July 2025. And that means that all organizations who are interested in applying and to meet the eligibility criteria, the financial capacity criteria, and so on, are eligible to apply and will be evaluated if you meet all the criteria. Now, I don't see any further questions in the 4 rooms here. And that means that we have concluded this Info Day. And I can now only ask you to remember that we have more occasions for answering or for receiving and then answering your questions. Please do consult the questions on the funding and tenders portal and the answers. Contact us at the email address you see here and watch the recording of this info session again. It's accessible through ESMEA's website. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the speakers here in the room, Maria Sorrentino, Alberto Valenzano, Mariangela Bartolomeo, Alain Schonjans, and Erwan Le Guen. I would also like to thank Mariella Masseling and Natalia Martinez-Paramo, who since left the room. But I think most importantly, I would like to thank my colleagues in the back office here, who are Elfriede Baute, Luca Pettini, Sabine Tavern, and Emma Falson, and of course also Juanmi Rodas. Without any of you, we wouldn't have been here and the audience wouldn't have listened to us. My biggest thanks, however, goes to the audience who have persevered with us for over 3 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and above all, good luck with the application. Goodbye.